to In Contrast. My name is Alan.
And I'm Nisha.
And on this show, we talk about movies and books that they're based on.
The catch is you watch the movie and I read the book with a few exceptions.
And today we have a big exception. For the very first time in Contrast history, we're joined by a very special guest. She's the library legend, the hero of Hayward.
Yes.
And as far as I'm concerned, the world's foremost expert on Jane Austen.
Yes.
Jayanti Addleman is joining us here today.
Welcome. Who better to talk about Jane Austen than a woman with a master's in English and another in library science?
That's right.
Our guest first discovered Jane Austen when pursuing her bachelor's and fell so in love, she wrote an essay about Pride and Prejudice for fun. When not reading Jane Austen's many novels, as we mentioned, our guest is the director of Hayward Public Libraries. Most importantly, she's also my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Hello.
Hi. So happy to be here.
Yeah. And we're recording. Well, go for it, Alan. I'll let you talk.
So today we're going to be, if you could not tell, talking about Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Perhaps one of Jane Austen's most well-known novels.
Yeah. It was first published anonymously in 1813, Austen's second book to be published. And we're picking to do it now because her birthday is in December. Shockingly, we are recording on the day of her birthday.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's her 250th birthday.
Yeah, 250th birthday.
The timing worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it really did.
So, before we get started, we'll obviously be delving into all of the themes and what we like and don't like about the various versions of this and the book and the movies and everything. But first, why don't you tell us just a little snippet about why you like Jane Austen's work so much and why it resonates with you?
Yeah. So, Jane Austen, she's very accessible to everyone. She doesn't write very deep themes. Her novels are not complicated, but they are just the most perfectly written books. I just feel like every word, every line has value. So anything she mentions anywhere in the book, it's going to be used in some way. And I like to use the word tight when I talk about her novels, just perfect. And, they always and people sort of laugh at her sometimes that, it's a romance, and which is fine. But romance is so much a part of life, men and women. And that's how we live. That's how we procreate. That's how the human race continues. So it's a very basic thing. And it's something that's been part of life all along. And I think, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. And I discovered Jane Austen in India. It just resonates. You will find there is something in every book that you can identify with. Yeah. And I don't know if you all felt that as you read or watched the movies. Yeah, but I think that to me is just what Jane Austen is all of us. All her characters are all of us.
Yeah, and I think also people forget that just because it's a romance or maybe it's easy to read doesn't mean there's no value to it.
No, of course not.
Not everything needs to explore excessively deep or dark or anything like that. But at the same time, I do think that Jane Austen, like Pride and Prejudice, could inspire a lot of conversation if you wanted it to. Or you could just read it and have fun, and that's okay, and that's still a valid form of writing.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that she so easily gets across, the silly things about society and human nature in such a natural way, So it is very accessible. Because I feel like there's two sides of that in the way people kind of perceive her nowadays. It's been around for so long that I think on one side people kind of think of it as this very dense, I'm studying Shakespeare kind of, activity. And then on the other side, like you said, some of the more well-read people, or however you want to put it, they kind of look at it as kind of, silly or frivolous. And I think really it lies somewhere in between.
Though I won't say that it's not like, people in, say, experts in literature and all don't like her. She is considered one of the greatest novelists of all time. And the way she writes also, it seems easy. I will say if you find it hard to read some of her books because the sentences sometimes are so long. And I think that's one of the most intimidating things for many of the people who try to read it now. But if you listen to her in the audiobook format, it is so easy and just flows so smoothly it's just wonderful. And again, obviously I love Jane Austen, so I recommend her to everyone.
So we're gonna talk about a few different screen adaptations today. I'll briefly speak on those before you get back to kind of talking about the early history of the novel. So the very first time, and this is kind of an anomaly for us in terms of talking about these old classic novels and their adaptations. It wasn't really put to screen until 1940. Typically when we've talked about other things like this, there's always some early silent film or some early attempt, from the 20s or maybe even 19-teens to adapt some of these classics, and that was surprisingly not the case here, despite it, still being a very popular book. So the first major film adaptation was not made until 1940. So we'll be talking about that one today. It's primarily been made into a ton of miniseries, mostly done through the BBC. So there was a very, very early television version, which I don't even know if it exists anymore, that was made in 1938. There was a version in 1952, 1958, 1967, 1980, and 1995, and a couple since then. But we're only going to focus on the 1995 BBC miniseries. It's often considered one of the most faithful adaptations. And then finally, the 2005 film, directed by Joe Wright.
Yes, which is the one that probably most people nowadays are familiar with and have seen, and it is quite well loved.
Yeah. Though I often find it's quite well loved by people who don't really associate with any of the other, like the novel itself or any of the other versions of it.
Yeah, but that's the 1995 version, and I think you're talking about the Colin Firth, the Jennifer Ely version, is very, very faithful to the book, and also has a lot of the, the tone of the book is really well captured. And people who watch it actually get Jane Austen pretty well. And one of the things I found also is many of the later versions or the different adaptations I've seen seem to be based on that rather than on the book. I mean, you can catch things that are from that version rather than from the book. So that's very interesting.
Yeah, and that's a common theme that we've kind of found, especially with things that have been adapted, over decades and decades, is that they start to kind of take on a life of their own on the screen, and so they're really feeding more from each movie to movie than they are from the original source.
Right.
It's quite interesting.
So, as we said, the book was published anonymously in 1813. Austen's second book. Her first was Sense and Sensibility, I think. It was pretty well received at the time, but not wildly popular or anything like that. But her books were recommended as school reading as early as 1838, which I'm pretty sure she was still alive at the time. No? She had died by then? Okay. But it was pretty close to her lifetime. So I thought that was pretty impressive. Later on, there was more divisive opinions. Charlotte Bronte didn't like Pride and Prejudice.
But Charlotte Bronte was so dark.
Yeah, I know. That's what I thought was interesting. Was I was like, you don't have to like it. It's not for you. Like, you don't have to. And then Mark Twain wanted to dig her up and beat her over the head with her own shin bone.
Wow. Did he say that?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
Which is incredible because Mark Twain was, wit and humor were part of what he
should have a great appreciation.
Right, because that's one of the best things about Jane Austen. So much is a tongue-in-cheek and so funny that it's like, why would Mark Twain not appreciate how funny she was?
Really?
Yeah, I don't get it. I think that people who dislike Jane Austen really don't like Jane Austen for some reason.
I have no idea
I
why.
think, and this is now not my first, wild claim I'm going to make on this show, which is that I think they're all misogynists. That because Jane Austen was so definitely the first or one of the first true feminists. I mean, she was talking from a woman's point of view, which no one before her had done. And she was really talking about the difficult situation women were in while doing it, while keeping it fun. And that is, to me, one of her biggest accomplishments, that she was talking about women's rights at a time when no one would talk about it.
Yeah, and some people credit her with basically starting romance as we know it today.
Absolutely.
As a genre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are so many successful, in fact, and again, I will admit, I read a lot of what is considered trashy romances, and so many of them are directly derived from Pride and Prejudice.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you can just see Mr. Darcy in all of these different romances. And I will say romance as a genre is, of course, taken a huge, what should I say, upswing again, and it is recognized as a true genre that is has you give it some credit. So it is sort of fun, and later on maybe I'll mention a couple of people that I think have really worked off Jane Austen very successfully.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So I think this is a good opportunity for kind of a classic episode of In Contrast here, where we just kind of move through the book and the story beats and talk through some of the characters and the themes while we do it.
Yeah. Do you want to do the character list now, or just kind of hit the characters as we go through the book?
I think there's too many to kind of just hit on all of them, so let's just do it as we talk. Yeah.
All right. So let's dive into the story then.
Yeah.
We open with Netherfield being let at last, meaning someone real rich is in town and they're renting a huge mansion. Mrs. Bennet is very eager to have Mr. Bennet visit our boy Bingley, and Mr. Bennet does soon visit, but he doesn't reveal to his family that he has visited without first really riling up his wife.
Well, he has no respect for her nerves at all.
No. So we are immediately...
But actually he does, because they have been his companion for many years.
That's right.
Yes.
But we are first introduced to Mrs. Bennet, our hypochondriac, dramatic queen, and Mr. Bennet, our the man who married perhaps foolishly for the wrong reasons and is now stuck with a woman who drives him crazy, but also he finds endearing.
Yeah, and derives a lot of entertainment from her, what she says and what she does.
Yes.
This is one of the most interesting points, just straight out of the gate, that I would like to know the difference between the book and some of its adaptations, is kind of the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Bennet, what the implications are for their former, their relationship leading up to this point, and kind of how they interact with each other and their daughters. Yeah. It seems like it varies a little bit.
It does, from book to book, from version to version. But I'd like to actually give Mrs. Bennet a little credit for, because she is sometimes just dismissed as this comic character,
right.
But she says this, and in fact, in the Keira Knightley version, which is what was 2005. Yeah, Keira, she actually she says it, that if you were the mother of 5 children, or 5 girls, what would you think about besides marriage? And that's sort of one of the key things that Jane Austen really felt so strongly, that women, there was no way out for them. And even when she was writing originally, she couldn't publish under her own name. It wasn't until after she died, her brother published under her name. Right. So this, and so poor Mrs. Bennet, what does she have but to worry about what's going to happen to them if Mr. Bennet dies, what's going to happen to her? And she has to find husbands for her daughters, and which is every woman's basically fate in those days. Yep. So, it really have to say that even though she sounds like she's this empty-headed, silly woman, she has got a purpose in life, and it is a good purpose. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're completely right. It seems to me that the 2005 version is really the only one that gives her that little bit of empathy. It's still, she has her very over-the-top dramatic moments and stuff as that character, but it's the only one that gives her that little bit of seriousness.
Yeah. But though at the same time, Keira Knightley is really quite mean to her in that, which even though she acknowledges it, so it's an interesting handling of the situation.
The way that Elizabeth interacts with her family in that version is so bizarre.
We'll get to that. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah. So I do think, Mrs. Bennet is somewhat consistently played across many of the versions. Mr. Bennet is actually interestingly different. And for example, I mean, when you see Donald Sutherland as Mr. Bennet, first thing it's kind of a shock. You go from Clockwork Orange to this, and it's like, but he's seen as a more, I would say, more presented more as a benign, benevolent father, which isn't exactly what he was. So I kind of thought it was an interesting interpretation. I didn't necessarily like it, though he is a good actor.
Yeah,
give him that.
There's no denying that.
Yeah, he does. And he's playing such a different role, and he still does that pretty well.
It really leans into, because I feel like every version of him has like a softness to him and a relatability, but it really leans into like he hasn't done anything wrong, and they are just in this unfortunate scenario. Whereas my understanding is the book kind of opens up to the, Mr. and Mrs. Bennet didn't necessarily make all the right choices. And,
right.
They maybe contributed to their being put in the situation that they are to some extent.
Absolutely. And he admits it also. I mean, that he didn't set aside money for all his girls. But as he said, he thought he'd have a son, and then by then it was too late. But
by the fifth daughter, you're like, oh boy, it's not looking good.
Yeah. So which is funny, but also, he is, and I think they talk about it in the book also, is that he was somewhat too laid back about his girls, almost like he didn't care. I mean, he liked Lizzie and beyond her, and he liked Jane. He really loved Lizzie. But the others, by then, he was just like, so fed up.
Which even that I think is such a interesting theme to talk about when it comes to parenting styles and stuff. It's you see that constantly, where there's this very fine line between being too hands off and letting your child explore and live their life, and then leaning over to apathy. So
and we will get there, but that is literally explored when we meet Miss de Bourgh.
Right. Exactly. That's a very good point.
It's quite literally an opposition.
But I also want to say this is also one of the reasons why this works so well throughout the world, because this, not valuing daughters is so common in so many cultures and so many countries. It's getting better, but it still is common where the families are dying for a son, like the son is going to be the savior, and that's what we're seeing in this. A son would have been the savior of this family.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the obsession of the society at this point, right? Is that you have to have some sort of heir to pass down. That is kind of the whole point of life after you've made a family and everything, is you need something to pass it down to.
Mr. Bennet does go visit Bingley, but he doesn't reveal it immediately to his family, and gets his wife exceedingly riled up, where she is convinced they're gonna all die alone and everything. And then he says, oh, well, I have called on her, basically relieving her, and she starts saying, oh, what a good joke, as if she knew the whole time.
Called on him.
Yes.
You said
on Bingley.
Oh, yeah. He called on Bingley.
Yeah.
And this is about the point where we also meet all of the daughters. So we have Jane, the oldest, Elizabeth, our main character, Mary, the middle child, who is really given the middle child treatment.
Firmly the middle child.
Oh, yeah.
Kitty and Lydia, who are the youngest three are considered the three silliest girls.
By their dad.
And they are quite silly in all of their own ways, and quite unique from one another as well. It's quite interesting.
I can't speak for the book, but in pretty much every screen adaptation, they are in fact the silliest girls you'll ever meet.
Yeah. I mean, Jane is known as, in the book, as our demure, kind of shy almost, but very reserved eldest daughter who doesn't necessarily express herself wildly, is very good-natured, believes the best in everyone. And then Elizabeth is a little bit more stubborn, strong-willed, very intelligent, but almost logical to a fault.
And playful. But that's the thing. She does have fun all the time.
Yeah.
That's one of the things you like about Elizabeth Bennet.
What's the phrase for her? Headstrong and
obstinate.
And obstinate. Yes.
Yeah, headstrong and obstinate. We have Mary, who is actually headstrong and obstinate. Well, maybe not headstrong, but definitely obstinate.
She's just very opinionated.
She's
in
very
a lot of these
opinionated,
versions.
always trying to improve her mind with like zero social skills.
Well, because again, this is what happens with girls when your girls are going to just marry them off. If you have a daughter who's not as good looking as the others, she has to work very hard to make herself, well, sellable.
Yeah.
And so she's trying to improve her mind, she's trying to play, and these are none of the skills she actually has.
Yeah.
But she's, trying to work on what is commonly seen as a good talent or skill to have.
Well, now here's my question, because based on later conversation that's had with Lady Catherine, where she is appalled at the fact that all 5 daughters are in society simultaneously, is that her making a judgment on like that's untoward or something, or is this like she is saying this is very poor strategy from the Bennett household to have all 5 available at the same time?
I think it is poor strategy for any household, because her belief is that you need to focus on getting rid of one girl at a time.
Mary doesn't stand a chance in this scenario.
Well, but if Mary was not out while the 2 good-looking girls were being basically sent off, then when Mary came out, the contrast would not have been so great.
Exactly.
So in a sense, it is a good strategy. But then Elizabeth says it really well. But if the elder two are not getting married or don't want to get married, then what about the poor younger ones? So
That's
they
true.
should have a chance. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah.
We have finally Kitty and Lydia. Kitty is a little bit silly, and Lydia is very silly and kind of the ringleader of the two.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She is very like impulsive and clear. She's like
spoiled.
spoiled.
She's very spoiled.
She's the favorite of Mrs. Bennet, and she is probably your like archetypal spoiled 16-year-old.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and I would say if there's anyone who's really obstinate and headstrong in this book, it's Lydia.
Mm.
She is the one who will do what she wants and will get her way, however she has to.
Yeah, and with no thought behind it.
Zero thought.
It is just pleasure, just she wants what she wants and she's going to get it.
Which again, if you're in such a silly society, who can really say anything?
Yeah. We have the first ball, and we meet our dashing young men, Bingley and Mr. Darcy. Bingley is immediately well-loved. He is a kind, playful guy. He's asking all the women to dance. He clearly has a preference for Jane, but he's still winning hearts of everyone. And Darcy stands quietly in a corner, slights Elizabeth while she's right in within earshot, and everyone immediately dislikes him.
Yes, our broody boy.
Our broody boy. And this is the origin of Sunshine and Grumpy. We have Sunshine as Bingley and Grumpy as Darcy.
Uh-huh. That's right.
All right, okay. But he's also the original tall, dark, and handsome hero.
That's true.
Yes, he is. And I think...
Yeah. So again, now I'm going to say Darcy would not have been so universally disliked if Elizabeth hadn't found it as something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
What he said, and she was able to always laugh at herself, and so she was talking about and laughing about it. If she had never mentioned it, people would have just thought he was proud, and yeah, he was a rich, proud guy, and that's fine.
That's true.
But she was really responsible for his bad reputation.
Yeah.
But now,
Yeah.
I need you to put this into terms that I can understand. Why do I need to care about these men? Like maybe like a monetary value
Yes.
that they provide.
So this is the early 1800s, where £5,000 is a lot of money.
Mhm.
And Bingley has about $5,000 a year that he makes. And then Mr. Darcy comes into the picture, who is making at least £10,000 a year.
My good
So he's
gracious.
worth double of what Bingley is worth, which really raises a lot of eyebrows. And you would think people would be throwing their daughters at him, but someone started a rumor. that he sucks.
Yeah, well, I just want to clarify when you say that he doesn't actually make this is money they were earning pretty much in interest and things
Yeah.
like
Right.
that from being landed and having all this money,
Right,
property.
this isn't actually like working.
It's
like-
passive, yeah. Though, they did have to look after and manage their estates, and
Yeah.
they usually had a steward to do it. But yeah, so just
they-
want to clarify what makes us, because that's what makes them a gentleman, is that they don't have to work.
Yes.
I think at some point in the miniseries, Elizabeth mentions about her uncle being an attorney.
Yeah.
And they like turn their nose up
And
at
it-
it, like the
and the
fact that
other-
he even has to work.
Yeah, well, that was part of what they, Darcy looks down on her
Right.
for, is that one of her uncles is an attorney, which is somewhat more respectable than being in trade, which her other uncle is.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
But, the one who's in trade in this case, and this is again Jane Austen making this point that why would you dismiss someone who's in trade? Because the first thing is, if he wants to earn a living, and a good living, as opposed to just being a soldier or a clergyman, which were the two accepted options, that you could be making a lot of money in trade and still be a really nice person. And so that's the nice thing about the uncle in trade.
Mhm.
That, again, Jane Austen making a point.
Okay, but why make money through trade if you could just simply be rich and not do anything?
But that's what happened is, so the Bingley's money is from trade,
Right.
which, they say, they might, his sister Caroline Bingley is sticking up her nose at this uncle who's in trade, but their money also came from trade, but they now have enough that they don't have to work. So
Absolutely.
now they are gentlemen.
The hypocrisy is real.
The
Yeah.
hypocrisy is real. Yeah. And Jane Austen's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
We now meet Charlotte Lucas, Elizabeth's dear friend, who is also quite logical, and she's also quite loving and a kind person, but she's pretty demure. We learn she's not very romantic, not necessarily putting herself out a lot, but she's pretty cool. And
She's definitely one of the most sidelined characters for screen adaptations. She's more present in the miniseries, of course, because it has time to get to know her a little bit. But yeah.
So, I think Jane Austen really used Charlotte to talk about her opinion of what women and marriage were about. And that's sort of because Charlotte was very practical.
Yeah.
She was down to earth and practical. And can I just read a little bit out here?
Yeah.
So, so when she was thinking of accepting Mr. Collins, I don't want to give away the end of the book.
Go for it.
Without thinking highly of either men or of matrimony, marriage had always been her object. It was the only honorable provision for well-educated young women of small fortune, and however uncertain of giving happiness, must be their pleasantest preservative from want. This preservative Charlotte had now obtained, and at the age of 27, without having ever been handsome, she felt all the good luck of it. And I think, and that's what Jane Austen was just, this is a woman's lot in life. And so Charlotte lived what women had to do. They were always compromising in order to get someone to look after them.
Yeah, she's just not covering up the reality of it.
Yeah.
It's a necessary business transaction, basically.
Yeah. And she's really, I actually love Charlotte Lucas because, even she talks about, well, it's better to not know your husband at all because you're going to discover all his faults anyway. And she also talks about people changing. And this we know from real life. You marry someone and over the years you'll change and evolve together. And that's what she says, what's the point in getting to know this person if they're going to change anyway? So,
I've said something to that degree before where it's always taking a gamble. Like at any point in your life, it will be different from another point in your life. So you don't know if it's going to work out the whole time. But maybe it's a little extreme on the other side.
You want
maybe you should at least
good
tolerate your
You
spouse
should
first.
have a good start. You should at least start happily rather than start very. But if you had very little choice and your one good opportunity comes up, you grab it.
I don't blame her whatsoever,
Yeah.
given the circumstances. It's just very funny that, like, all of her bragging about her new house and home and stuff when she finally gets married is just like, yeah, so I have my own room over here and he's over there. And,
But she's not bragging, and that actually, I will say, the no version actually talks about how it is written in the book, that because she does not want to hang around with this man. She realizes he's kind of silly, he's always ridiculous, and so she picks that room, which never comes across because it does not get sun. It's a cold room. And she knows he's not going to want to be in it, so she takes it as her own.
Oh,
and it's
wow.
her way of not spending time with her husband. And that
Okay.
actually is expressed in the book, but not in any of the movies I have
No,
watched.
it only makes it sound like they've worked out this deal where she
Yeah.
gets like her own private. Not that it was like calculated based on
Yeah.
it being an undesirable room.
Yeah, and that's exactly why she picked it, because
That's-
it's undesirable and it's her way of keeping him out of her hair.
Thank you for that. That's a very important layer to it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another ball, and
There's lots of balls.
Yeah.
Which are the highlight of every single movie. I
Yeah.
would
Yes,
say they are used
absolutely.
very well in the movies.
Yeah. And this is where Darcy's feelings, he gets a funny feeling in his tum-tum when he
Oh.
sees Elizabeth. And while being prodded by Miss Bingley, who also has a crush on Darcy,
Not necessarily a crush. I mean, maybe a crush, but he
Well,
is a rich
she definitely,
potential husband.
yeah, she definitely views him as something to desire.
And their families are already linked and
Linked,
stuff,
yeah.
so she kind of views it as like the ultimate closing of the circle,
Absolutely.
Yeah. But she kind of prods Darcy a little bit putting Elizabeth down, and he says that she's pretty cute. I think she's cute.
Yeah, he loves her eyes.
He loves her eyes, her dark eyes, which is one of the few descriptions we get in the book. Most of the characters are not described.
Something else I was very curious about, because it does seem like some of that has also, like we were talking about the kind of movies and stuff take on a life of their own. It seems like they've kind of all started to shift it towards this very specific look for a lot of the characters. You know?
Yeah, and just the fact that her eyes are so important. I actually felt, if we have to talk about the bright eyes, the dark eyes, Keira Knightley's eyes were more appropriate than Jennifer Ely's. Just saying.
Yeah.
But Keira Knightley, I think, she was very cute and so fit that character well.
Yeah.
But of course, Jennifer Ely plays her very well.
Yeah, Jennifer Ely does a very good job. And I'm biased to that because I've been watching that basically since I've been born.
Yeah. And if I can when you come to the character, we did talk about Mrs. Bennet. I just want to say, Nisha, how old were you when we started watching it?
Well, it came out in 95,
Yeah.
so I was 1.
Okay. All right. So we were watching it for a while, but Nisha did Mrs. Bennet so well from a very young age. She would just be.
Oh, Lizzie!
Well, the cry, you got to do that.
Speaking of our girl, Mrs. Bennet, she decides to nearly kill her eldest daughter in the name of matrimony.
Oh, dear.
I don't think she realizes what she's doing. But Jane is invited over to the Bingleys for dinner or something like that.
For the evening,
For the evening, yeah. And Mrs. Bennet looks out the window, goes, "Oh, it's gonna rain. You should go on horseback." No, you can't have the carriage. We need the horses. You gotta go on horseback. Jane arrives and is basically half dead.
It's worth it for love.
Yeah.
It's worth it for love. She is fortunate that even, Caroline Bingley, who we've been ragging on a little bit, is really kind to her. The older Bingley daughter who's
Mrs. Hurst.
Mrs. Hurst, thank you, is also very nice to Jane when they
You
come.
would call them very
Well,
nice,
but
but nice enough. Yeah.
Nice enough. They don't turn her away. They do make efforts to take care of her.
They make snide remarks
Make
a
snide
lot,
remarks,
but, you know.
yeah.
But because of their brother.
Exactly.
Really.
And
Yeah.
well, the point being, Bingley's not even there yet.
Right.
And they're still like, well, we got to take care of her because Bingley likes her.
Which is
Really?
kind of an important point for why Mrs. Bennet wanted to set it up that way, is that she's like, you're not going to go over there and waste your time if Mr. Bingley's not even going to be there. Like,
yeah, you got to stay till he
you
at least
must
comes.
stay.
Yeah. Unfortunately, she ends up sick for like a week or something, 2 weeks, something.
A week.
Yeah.
Well, by the end of the week, the sisters were going to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it does give us a time to have Elizabeth come and stay with them. She comes about the next day. And the weather is nice, so she walks.
On foot?
On foot.
3 miles.
3 whole miles.
Unheard of.
Her dress has inches of mud, and the Miss Bingley, Caroline Bingley, does make a snide remark to Darcy, and Darcy goes, I didn't notice. I thought the exercise did her well.
Yeah, added color to her cheeks, brightened her complexion.
Yeah.
Though he does admit he would not want his sister to be walking through the mud like that.
Yes. But the relationship with your sister and your wife are very different relationships,
Absolutely.
especially when your sister is like 12 years younger than you.
Right.
So, Elizabeth gets to stay at Netherfield, and she mostly focuses on her sister. Bingley finally arrives and is very gracious and kind, and he's very doting on Jane, very grateful to have Elizabeth there. Darcy's also grateful to have Elizabeth there, but she doesn't know whether he's paying attention to her because he likes her or because he wants to criticize her. She hasn't picked up on any of his hints. And I think this is also where Miss Bingley realizes that Darcy is giving Elizabeth a little bit extra attention and starts saying stuff like, oh, well, come take a turn about the room with me.
One of my favorite lines.
Yeah, their strenuous walk around the room. And
but those days, that's a lot of ways they actually did get their exercise.
yeah, and you don't have, much to do if you're just sitting around, so you might as well walk about.
Like, not a turn about the garden. A turn
Well,
about the
but
room.
it's the evening. It's late in the evening. You didn't have, electric lights outside at that time. You didn't want to walk in the dark.
I get it. It's still funny.
It is, but also Miss Bingley's intention, and Darcy got it right away, was to get attention on herself.
Oh, yeah.
And the only way she was going to get it was by walking with Elizabeth.
And
Yeah.
they make that a very pointed thing in some of the adaptations. That it's
Right,
like we
right.
are exhibiting now. Like,
Right. Yeah. And I will say this is really where Darcy's character's development really starts, and you get sort of drawn in with him. And so, but it's also in the book, it's done really well where they talk about how Miss Bingley is going on trying to get Darcy's attention, and she doesn't necessarily want to sit and read. She doesn't. But she picks the book only because it's the second volume of the book that Darcy is reading. So, there's this whole thing of how the whole evening she's trying to get his attention.
the original pick me girl.
Yeah.
I literally had that thought while reading it. I forgot to write that down as a note, but Caroline Bingley is the original pick me girl.
100%.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Which is not a term I use lightly, because usually it's just people being jerks to women.
Right,
No,
it is,
Caroline
but-
Bingley is the OG. So Jane heals, and they head home a little bit sooner than Mrs. Bennet wanted, but they really want to go home.
They want to go home, and Mrs. Bennet still would not let them have the carriage, so Jane borrows it from Mr. Bingley, which of course makes Mrs. Bennet very unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And we are now introduced to two of the most insufferable characters in the book, one of whom we immediately know is insufferable, the other of whom it takes a little while. We meet Mr. Collins.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah.
He arrives much to the dismay of Mrs. Bennet because he has entailed the property that they are living on once Mr. Bennet dies. And she is convinced that Mr. Bennet's gonna die, like, in a fortnight. And Mr. Collins will just dump him out on the side of the road, which is technically his right.
It is his
and
right.
he is the weird cousin.
And he is the weird cousin.
Yeah, and and again, poor Collins. I think he. It's two things. So I'm going to start by saying I can really judge any version of the movie by how they present Collins. And Mr. Collins, that to me is like he is the one who completely matches the quality of the movie. No question.
It's like when you go to a Thai restaurant and order pad Thai.
Yeah. Exactly. Or you go to an Italian restaurant and order gnocchi.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you judge? It's like, okay, how do you judge the movie? How is Mr. Collins presented?
Mr. Collins is pad Thai, got it.
Yeah. But Mr. Collins is similar to all of the other, like, men were also not in a good situation in those days, that they had very few options to them. And Mr. Collins, and they actually talk about this in the book, which doesn't come across, is his father was a nasty man. He never got a good start in life. I mean, he got, went to school or, college in those days, whatever. But his father was mean to him, was not a nice person. His father had fought with Mr. Bennet and they didn't get along. But Mr. Collins was trying to reach out to them. Now, what his true motivations were, we don't know, whether he just genuinely had heard about the beautiful girls and so was going to pick one of them as a wife because there was no other way he was ever going to get a wife. Or whether he genuinely did feel it's his cousin, I'm going to inherit the house, let's go, make overtures.
Yeah.
Or let me go check out the house and see, what it looks like and be ready for when I inherit.
Maybe even some combination of the three.
Yeah,
in some way,
entailed, which is really what he talks about.
Yeah, I think Mr. Collins, like, my read on him is that he's just really clueless. I described him as insufferable and pompous, but I don't necessarily, I think he's one of those people who's, like, determined to do good by whatever their societal standards are. So I don't think he would ever turn the family out, but I do think he would be really annoying about it. And he'd be like, and by my graciousness, I would never turn you out of your own home.
Out of my humble
abode. Yeah. So I don't think he would do that, but I think he would lord it over their heads.
Oh, they
but
would
in
not want to live with him.
No, and he would do it in a way that was almost clueless, because I think he's a little bit of an idiot, as we see with Charlotte later.
Yeah, he is an idiot.
It's part of it, That's definitely part of his character.
So, I just want, as I say, for me, Mr. Collins is the true, what should I say, that the litmus test for every movie. So one of the things she makes very clear in the book when she describes him is that he is a tall man, and he's not an ugly person, he's tall. And so, which, of course, is an author mentioned, Susan Isaac says, for men, being tall is next to being God, kind of thing. So, but he was, so he was, he was tall. And in many of these books, and especially the 2005 version.
I mean, the camera is like highlight. It's like zooming in and out on, like, look, he's short. Look how short he is.
That's kind of so unnecessary,
It is. It perfectly frames him next to Elizabeth as being significantly shorter than her. And then there is a scene where it transitions from him talking to Elizabeth and Darcy coming up, and it purposefully cuts Darcy's head out of the frame and focuses only on Collins, just to show the juxtaposition between how much shorter he is. Yeah.
It's also, there's the scene when he goes up to introduce himself and Darcy's standing with his hand on his hip and he swings around and his elbow almost goes over Mr. Collins's head. And I just feel like, well, that's sort of unnecessary. I get it. It's like comic relief, but it's not. Come on, not all short people are silly or it's a little unfair.
It's very funny that he's actually described as tall in the book because of that. And because really that's the only thing that the 2005 version really harps on about him. Like in other versions, he's very ridiculous and kind of gross in some ways, And that one, he's just kind of annoying and like very serious, really.
Yeah, and I actually thought that almost spoiled the movie. They could have, made him a much more interesting character, and the movie would have been a much more interesting movie overall.
Yeah. And if you read about like the filmmaker and the screenwriter for this, all they talk about is how they chose to sacrifice so much of this so it could solely focus on Elizabeth and Darcy. But I mean,
but this actually ends up being a distraction.
It is really, I agree.
Yeah. Our other bachelor that we meet is Mr. Wickham.
Stand-up guy, that Wickham.
Stand-up guy. The military is in town, the regiment, or whatever. Yeah. And when we meet Wickham, we also have Bingley and Darcy riding up on their horses in town at the same time. So these sisters meet Wickham. They're introduced by a friend, Denny. And they're like, wow, this guy's handsome. Another tall guy. As we see, Jane Austen was partial to tall men, regardless of who they were.
She was talking about society being partial to tall men.
But Darcy rides up, and we immediately see that there is something between Wickham and Darcy, and they don't like each other.
There's a cold nature to their greeting.
Yes. We quickly learn Wickham's version of the events, which he spills quite quickly, like really fast.
And I will say that almost every version makes a point to him kind of like trying to twist it around where he's like, well, I don't want to talk about this, but...
and that's also very much a part which when Elizabeth later on in the book realizes how wrong she was, it is that this was so inappropriate to be talking like that, which she never realized at that time. She was blinded by his good looks.
Absolutely.
So,
And her prejudice against Darcy.
Her prejudice, you say?
She already doesn't like Darcy.
Yeah.
And so this guy doesn't like Darcy, and she's like, let's gossip. What's the tea? But he basically says that he was left without his rightful inheritance that Darcy withheld from him because Wickham's father was Darcy's father's steward. Wickham is the godson of the late Mr. Darcy.
Right.
And our boy Fitzwilliam Darcy does not honor that.
Right. So he has Wickham has very, very wonderful things always to say about Darcy's father, growing up with him and everything. So they fully grew up together at Pemberley, but not so much about the son.
What are your thoughts on Wickham?
Well, Wickham is an unmitigated villain. There's no question. And, but he does. You do notice this is really where her prejudice starts coming out, and she's prejudiced against Darcy and prejudiced for Wickham, right away. Yeah, so that definitely comes across.
I also have to give some credit to pretty much every screen version of this, at least of these main three, that I feel like the casting for Wickham is really good because he's someone that's able to straddle that line of being likable at the front half and then very unlikable at the second half.
Yeah, I think Wickham's probably one of the hardest characters to portray as an actor because of that. Everyone else, I wouldn't say they're not fully fleshed out or deep characters, but like you say, he has to play this game of balancing this charismatic guy who's actually kind of a jerk and taking advantage of people.
He's the classic charismatic dirtbag.
Right. Well, he is an actor. Whoever the actor is playing Wickham is playing the ultimate actor.
Yeah,
so
it's true.
It's that meta level.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, this is deep. Guess what?
Yes.
We have another ball.
You don't say. Which one is this?
This is Mr. Bingley's ball that he earlier promised to Lydia once Jane was well. And by this point, Elizabeth, it's like a week before the ball happens, Mr. Collins asks Elizabeth for the first two dances. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, God.
She's trying to get out of it,
Yeah. So she's worried, but she doesn't really do anything yet. And she's like, okay, well, at least I can go see Wickham and we can hang out after I'm done with Mr. Collins. Turns out Wickham's not at the ball. And she figures out pretty quickly that it's probably because he doesn't want to be there and he's made a convenient excuse to not be there.
Well, she blames Darcy.
Of course.
Plain
Well, yeah.
and simple.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
still not blaming Wickham for not showing up. She's like, well, because
Well,
of
no,
Darcy, he
he's
couldn't come.
Being the honorable man, he doesn't want to start any trouble or
Yeah,
anything, so he's just not going to come.
Yes. This is also where Mr. Darcy asks Elizabeth to dance. And I think this is pretty universal in most of the versions, but they don't talk, and then they do start talking at Elizabeth's prodding, and then they fight.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, but it is, and that's Elizabeth. So again, one of the things I love about Jane Austen, and I will say, if I'm ever having a difficult time in life and trying to, something's going on in my life, and I'm trying to decide what to do, I go read Jane Austen.
Mm.
Because Jane Austen's heroines always do what's right.
Mm.
They know that they should do what they should do. And that's the thing also about Elizabeth here. She will dance with Mr. Collins. He asked, and so she'll dance with him. She didn't want to dance with Darcy, but she couldn't come up with a good excuse, so she will dance with him. But when they're dancing, you are supposed to have conversation, and that's why she tells Mr. Darcy, okay, now let's talk here. And of course, Mr. Darcy, being Mr. Darcy, cannot find a reason for talking.
Yeah.
And these are, I should say, always great scenes in the movies and show, because they really lean into the fact that they're doing these like coordinated dances and lines where they're often twisting away from each other. So there's like long pauses in the conversations they're having while they do the next steps.
And
It's always really well done.
It's always, and that's, I will say, almost every single movie is really well done.
Yeah.
The thing, and in fact, I actually love the way it's done in the 2005 version, where she's, where they suddenly, everyone's gone and it's just the two of them, which is really, you know, that they were so focused on each other. That's it. Everyone else just disappeared. So it's really kind of well done in that one.
I like that part.
Yeah, but I also like, actually all of them, but even the 1995 version, it's so well done. This
It's
actual...
Much more matter of fact, of course.
But the choreography is so
it's
perfect,
really good.
and
The timing of it is perfect.
Yeah,
And they just, that whole series just has such a good sense of humor.
Yeah.
It really gets the humor.
Yeah, it does. Because the book is humorous.
Of course.
It's probably one of the best romantic comedies of all time.
Yeah.
Mr. Collins proposes.
Aww.
And this thing seems like, again, something a lot of the versions captured. He is so wordy, and he just talks for so long. And then Elizabeth attempts to reject him, and he's like, I know you'll just reject me like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
This is just what women do.
Yes, it's fine. Women will reject.
Genteel women,
Yeah, and he doesn't realize, in the book, he doesn't realize that, no, the rejection is real.
Yeah.
Until Mrs. Bennet says, no, she means it if she says it.
Yeah. Well, so are we going to talk about the other proposal, or are we going to wait and compare the two a little later on?
Wait and compare.
Okay, we'll wait and compare. But I do love this scene also in the book, and look, again, some of them go over the top when they do it in the movies, but it's so well done. It's such a key scene in all of the books.
It is.
All of the movies, all of the versions,
And it's hard to blame people trying to adapt it for going over the top, because in the book he really talks for a long time.
Over the top,
And how do you balance that? How do you edit down his monologue to keep attention while showing how ridiculous it is?
The conversation always starts with like, okay, Elizabeth, let me list these reasons why I want to marry you, and she's like, when did I say I wanted to do that?
Yeah.
And in the book also, it's really written very well, where he's listed all these, and he said, and of course the most important one, which I should have mentioned, and she thinks he's going to say, I'm so much in love with you, and he says, Lady Catherine de Bourgh wants it, and so she's like, kind of surprised that she thought he was actually going to declare himself, and he still doesn't.
He really just needed to marry Lady Catherine.
Well, that is a very good. Oh, that would have been.
She like occupies his every waking thought, so you know.
Yeah, his life revolves around her.
Oh, I didn't finish describing Mr. Collins. So we talked about him in the 2005 version. The miniseries very much more leans into him being this kind of like weird, mousy, kind of like very sweaty. He's a very moist looking man.
Okay.
You know?
So the miniseries, which version are you talking about?
95. I will only be talking about the 1995.
Oh, okay, 1995. Yeah, definitely.
You know,
and he's like sweating it out. It's such an effort to do things. He has to pause.
He's constantly, dabbing or something. He's just this very,
He's pretty tall in that version, though, right?
He is,
yeah.
And that's why
he's not short for sure.
No, he is tall, and that's why it's a version that's so faithful to the book in almost every way.
It sounds like he's maybe a little more comic relief in that version than he is in the book.
No, the
Not
book
really?
also, no, the book he is completely comic relief.
Okay.
It is very. I mean, you do have to read it, but it is just so well written, and you can't help like bursting out laughing at this. When they talk about Elizabeth expecting that he's going to declare himself, and he doesn't, and it's just very funny the way it's done. And he is definitely a comic character, and I will say also that is something that Jane Austen. The way she presents the clergy in her books is very interesting.
Yes.
And so, you compare him to some of the other clergy. I mean, there are definitely some really nice members of the clergy because her own father and her brother were also members of the clergy, and she did love them very much.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting.
And I don't even remember if we had said up to this point that Mr. Collins is a clergyman.
Oh, yes. He is clergy.
That's the notable difference in the 1940 film, is that they chickened out.
They did?
Due to the Hays Code.
Oh.
And were not allowed to portray the clergy as being this bumbling fool.
Yeah.
So they made him a librarian.
I know.
How do you feel about that?
I'm very offended by it. Extremely offended by it. She's the Lady Catherine de Bourgh's librarian. Yeah, no. And let's talk about the 1940s version in some detail.
We haven't really talked about it. But...
we can talk about it a little later on. Definitely
it's
is.
For sure the least important to compare here.
Yeah. But it is, it was one of the big ones that was really with Laurence Olivier and Greer Garson. I mean, just like you couldn't get a better cast. So if I can just say something about the 1940s version, which really bothered me. So I saw it in the 70s, very soon after I read the book, loved the book, fell in love with her, with the whole book. Did not know much about Jane Austen as an author. I had begun to start reading about her. And I was so angry when I saw this version because it changes so much from the book, and part of it is so quick. But it was written, the screenplay, by Aldous Huxley.
Amazing, isn't it?
And that I was like, oh my gosh, here is another one of my heroes. And you see this, you think, what was he thinking? Did he even read the book?
Of all people to turn it away from like biting satire into just straight comedy with very little substance. Aldous Huxley of all people?
Exactly.
It's shocking.
It is shocking, but it does say it was based on a dramatization by someone else.
It does, and I wrote that down because it's in the title card that it doesn't say based on the novel by Jane Austen. It says based on a dramatization of the novel by Jane Austen.
So, which is so interesting, but that is probably, I would say, maybe Aldous Huxley's lowest point in life.
Maybe,
in his life. So,
I didn't even realize it. Maybe I just didn't notice it in the title card or something, but I feel like I had to go digging for that.
No, I saw that, and those are my college days when I was like, what is going on?
It was a double blow for you.
It was a double blow for me,
Basically, this is the turning point where everything goes wrong for the family.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Collins has now proposed to Charlotte Lucas. Not only is he not marrying Elizabeth, he's moved on to someone who's not even in the family. And Mrs. Bennet is convinced that Charlotte Lucas is now going to happily turn them out of the house, which is not on brand for Charlotte Lucas, really.
At all.
But also, Mr. Bingley has left Netherfield and has no plans of returning. and we don't know if Jane will be able to marry him or what's going to happen with their relationship.
So let me back up a little bit to Charlotte Lucas. So and here again, the movie somewhat, the 1995 version varies a little bit from the book, because in the 1995 version, Charlotte arrives and she says, oh, and she's very sympathetic. Oh, I'm very sorry for him if he said no, if Elizabeth said no to him. And then she says, oh, should I take him, sort of take him off your hands? And they say, yes, please do. In the book, they're quite open about her being somewhat scheming, that she sees it right away as an opportunity for her. And so, which probably is the one time you don't see Charlotte in a very positive light. And so, apart from her making a bad decision, but it was not necessarily a bad decision, but she actually was very deliberate about drawing Mr. Collins away.
Not that I think any of those Bennett girls were fighting and scrapping to get to him.
No, they weren't. But actually, Mary would have happily.
Valid,
Yeah.
Valid.
But even she had some critiques about him and how he could improve his mind and whatnot.
Yeah. But she felt she could be the one helping him improve his mind.
Exactly, yeah. Which is very interesting. I'm surprised that, Mrs. Bennet is so determined to get her daughters wed. But I suppose they are going like, no, we have to do this correctly, go oldest to youngest.
Right.
Yeah.
But really it would have been to her advantage to say, Jane's beautiful, Elizabeth is beautiful, but I actually think Mary would be a really good fit for you. Why don't you just talk to her and see if you guys like each other, Which, of course, maybe Mr. Collins is actually too vain for that or something. But,
but, you put the most attractive fruit out in front, on the plate in front of him, because why would you put the slightly, whatever, misshapen fruit if you had good fruit,
The bruised apple known as Mary Bennett.
Again, what did we say about being treated like a middle child? We get further proof that Bingley has perhaps moved on, in that Jane goes to travel to, I think, London or the town, and she meets up with Caroline Bingley, which is kind of like pulling teeth. And then Caroline Bingley doesn't really seem interested in her.
Yeah, makes it clear she's not interested.
And in addition, Wickham has moved on to a new target, but Elizabeth's not exactly heartbroken about it. She's like, yeah, I guess I liked him, but I'm okay with it. I'm not very upset.
And Elizabeth Bennet actually says that she is aware, unlike her younger sisters, that men have to have money to live off of. So, she is willing to understand it. Again, she's got a soft spot for Wickham. So,
Yeah. Eventually, Elizabeth travels, she meets up with Jane, but she goes to see Charlotte Collins and Mr. Collins. And we meet Miss de Bourgh. So, as we Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Yeah.
They call her Miss de Bourgh in the book.
The daughter
that's
is
Miss de Bourgh. That's right.
No,
but
she is lady. Yeah.
But that's where we do see the things like how Charlotte is very strategic in how she picks her room and how she directs Mr. Collins, encourages him to be in the garden a lot, which is in some of the movies as well, but they don't quite go as far to show that she's really like, oh no, he's annoying, but like I've got him figured out. I know how to handle him.
She handles him very well.
Yes, and to the point of also convincing him that she should be the one to introduce her sister and Elizabeth to Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
Yeah, which they don't do in the movies, like, especially in the 2005 version there, where he's so ingratiating Collins, introducing them.
Yeah. And Miss de Bourgh is obviously quite a lot. She talks, Lady Catherine de Bourgh is a lot, and she is kind of full of herself.
Kind of.
Extremely.
She loves hearing herself talk, and as they stay, they visit her a few times, and eventually her two nephews show up. Colonel Fitzwilliam and someone you might recognize, Mr. Darcy.
Ooh.
And Fitzwilliam, and Elizabeth do hit it off. They're very friendly. In the book, I think budding romance is explored a little bit, but I actually think it was fair to cut that out in most of the versions because it does amount to just about nothing. And they're just very friendly, and I think that's worth it. And they tease Darcy, and Mr. Berg tries to get her nose in it, and Charlotte is seeing this, and she's like, no, I think Darcy likes Elizabeth, but she can't quite figure it out. And we're sort of seeing all these pieces move.
And Charlotte had noticed it earlier, also in the balls earlier, where she talks about Mr. Darcy looking at Elizabeth. They discuss it, the two of them. So Charlotte had already been feeling like, I think Mr. Darcy likes my friend.
Yeah. Elizabeth finds some nice secluded paths to walk, and she's been enjoying herself. And then suddenly she keeps encountering Mr. Darcy on his walks conveniently. And one day she actually encounters Colonel Fitzwilliam, who reveals that Darcy saved a friend from a poor marriage or a poor fit. And obviously Elizabeth is very upset, realizing that Bingley is the friend and Jane is the poor marriage. And with unfortunately bad timing, Darcy decides to propose.
Just really awful timing.
Really bad timing. In contrast to Mr. Collins's very wordy proposal, the actual proposal in the book is not written as dialogue. It is described, and we do get a lot of details, which is interesting because so many of the lines in the movies are pulled straight from the book.
Right.
But those are not. Those, you had to write them in the script. You had to hit the points. But
the points were so well written out. And to me, that's the thing. Mr. Darcy's proposal is exactly the same as Mr. Collins's proposal. I mean, that's, you have two people, such different parts of society that they're from, and they both propose in exactly the same way to Elizabeth. It's just like.
And what do you mean by that? What's the common thread?
The common thread was that Mr. Darcy also starts off by saying, here's why I should not be marrying you. He's giving his reasons, just like Collins was giving his reasons for marrying Elizabeth. Mr. Darcy's talking about his reasons for not wanting to marry her, why he should not be marrying her, but then, which also Mr. Collins talks about. Mr. Collins actually says, I will never talk about your lack of fortune while talking about it. And he, in a sense, Darcy does the same thing, that, you don't have any money, but that's okay. So it's very similar. The two proposals are just shockingly similar.
They also both assume she's going to accept.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just like there's no chance of it happening otherwise.
Yeah. Granted, Mr. Darcy takes the hint a lot quicker, but she also rains fire down on him much quicker than with Mr. Collins.
Yeah, but he was angry also, just like Mr. Collins, and he actually asks her, so is this all you're going to say to me? And only then does she go through and explain why she's not going to marry him.
Well, she's obviously very offended by the fact that he's listed all these various reasons why it's, not in his best decision making or
Yeah.
And she does fire back with many reasons of all the gossip she's heard, including Bingley and Jane being broken up and how he treated Wickham.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is a very big plot point. And I think that Wickham thing is also a bit of a tipping point for him. He could have probably taken Bingley and Jane, but not Wickham.
Right.
Yeah, but none of this would have actually even resonated with him if she hadn't said to him, if he had behaved in a more gentleman-like manner. And, because that to him, that was his essence. That for them, being a gentleman was what it was all about. And he was shocked that anyone would think he's not a gentleman.
And across the versions, there's a lot of conversation and different understanding about the definition of that word. If one of them simply, I forget which one it is. It might be the 1941, so I don't know that it's actually related to anything in the book. But where he's basically just like, well, a gentleman is just someone that you assume is honorable. So, like, I can basically say whatever I want and it's honorable.
But she doesn't use the word gentleman like in refusing him in the 1940s version.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which to me is like, that was the key.
Yes.
That was the thing that actually got through to him. Yeah, he was angry about Wickham. It's like, yeah, sure, you like Wickham, and all, and he genuinely didn't think he'd done anything wrong in breaking up Bingley and Jane, but being told that he's not a gentleman, I mean, that is the worst thing. And that's sort of well done, I think, in the movie. In the miniseries, the 1995 miniseries, where he's walking back, he, gallops back to their home and he's going in, and the episode ends with him saying, and at least in that I can defend my, while he's about Wickham, but he cannot defend himself about being called not a gentleman.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah. And, again, so I'll just take off again in this. So one of the things I love about this whole Jane Austen, the way she develops Darcy's character, it's all about his expressions and his feelings, even though he's such a repressed character. And the 1995 version, the way Colin Firth plays the character is amazing, because so much is about his expressions. Just the camera keeps coming in on his face, and it's so well done that just everything is, he doesn't have to use the words, it's just his expression in response to what's being said. I think that's really amazing in that 1995 version.
Yeah. We now get the truth about Wickham. Darcy delivers a letter to Elizabeth, and he's as terse as always, minus his proposal. And he gives her the letter, says, please do me the honor of reading this, walks away. And she reads it, and we learn that Wickham had lost all the money, didn't do the things he was supposed to, dropped out of the clergy, which is how he was supposed to get his inheritance, but he still got a bunch of money. He lost it all on gambling, and then he tries to marry and elope with Darcy's younger sister, who again is 10 years younger than these guys, and
has £30,000 though.
Yeah, she's rich as heck, and obviously Darcy will support her no matter what. Darcy really is like a father figure to her, and he will just defend her to the end.
Genuinely loves her, and that's, you start seeing the softer side of Darcy in all of this.
Yeah, and Elizabeth then suddenly admits that she was blinded by prejudice. It's the title. And this is where she says, I should have seen Wickham's impropriety, that he had just dumped all this stuff at it, and I barely knew him, and it was inappropriate, and now I see why he went for this other woman. And it's just, these things are really starting to add up.
Yeah, and this is actually, the proposal is where the Pride and Prejudice come together in the book. That is the, turning point. And it just shows that they both have pride and they both have prejudice, and it just is so cleverly done.
Yes, it really is, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the book, was originally called First Impressions, which would also have been a good title for the book. Yeah. But of course, she has her Sense and Sensibility,
right?
Prejudice. Yeah,
but it was changed later because of that.
Yeah. That's actually a really good, First Impressions is a really good title.
It's a great title, yeah.
Because it's everyone, whether it's, Mr. Wickham, Mr. Collins, it's all about first impressions.
Yeah. And I mean, Charlotte herself, don't learn too much about this guy.
Yeah.
She emphasizes, just go off your first impression.
Yeah, I almost feel like the title as it is, has caused some people to kind of misinterpret parts of it.
Oh, yeah.
Just various things that I've read, it seems like people really look into the literal translation of the title too much.
Yeah, and words also, the connotations are different now from what they were then, and prejudice now has a lot more to do with race and color and things like that. Yeah. So it does color how we look at the title. Yeah. That's a very good point.
Yeah, for sure. So maybe we should change it to First Impressions now. Again. Yeah, we take it back.
You should make a movie version called First Impressions.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Our next adaptation that we have to work on out of our very long list of adaptations, we promise. So I'm going to kind of gloss over some of this stuff. Yes. Not a lot happens, but basically Elizabeth gets home with Jane. They've all come home. She is very excited to tell Jane what happens about Darcy and how wild that is. But even better, the regiment and Wickham are leaving in a fortnight. So they got 2 weeks left of Wickham, and she's like, whew, thank goodness. And together she and Jane say, you know what, we're just not going to say anything. We're just going to let them go, and he'll be out of our lives, and everything will be better, right? That'll definitely happen. Nope. Anyway.
Now, one thing we also haven't hit on is, like, what is, you know, in certain versions, especially the 95 version, like, Jane and Lizzie are very, very close. They have a very strong sisterly bond. It's not like that in every single version. Again, the 2005 version, like, gets really weird with that to me, where they start, like, not getting along, butting heads and stuff. So what's their relationship like in the book?
Oh, they're very close. They're definitely very close and love each other very much. They're both sensible. They build off each other. They both also try to work together to help their younger sisters, to help their mother. They're always together. No, they definitely are very close and best of friends.
Mm-hmm. And when they have a problem, they solve it together. And, you know, like with the Wickham thing, Elizabeth goes to Jane to talk about it and find a solution.
Right.
You know, maybe they didn't come up with the right solution, but they're very close in the book.
Right. And in fact, they really sort of they tell each other everything, which sort of ends up in the end where Jane at one point, because Elizabeth does not tell her everything about Mr. Darcy, actually says you were very sly about this, because she expects her to tell her everything.
Right.
They always, you know, talked about everything.
It was kind of her one secret from her.
Yeah.
While Lydia heads off on vacation with the regiment, Elizabeth...
Great idea.
Yeah, great idea. Elizabeth heads off with her aunt and uncle. They were supposed to take a bigger trip, but they decide instead not to go as far and end up getting a tour of Pemberley, which is Darcy's estate. Fortunately, he's not in town. Definitely not in
there.
town.
Well,
Definitely.
they've been told that's that's the only reason she agrees to go,
Right,
is because she's checked
yeah,
that he's not in town.
They do not expect him.
Yeah, which is where we stumble upon the most famous scene of all of the Pride and Prejudice adaptations.
Pulled directly from the novel.
Yeah, which offended me so much when I saw that version.
Iconic stuff.
So let me say, in the book, Elizabeth is taking a tour of the grounds and walking about when Darcy walks up. And she's like, oh my, that's quite startling. Alan, why don't you tell us what happens in the 1995 version?
Well, you see, Colin Firth is on the other side of the lake being quite broody. And he decides to go for a swim. She is wandering out of Pemberley, also quite deep in thought, when she sees a very wet Darcy
in a white shirt,
which is completely see-through at that
emerge from the water and flick his hair back.
Yeah. I don't know.
And go,
his hair.
oh, hello. Why, Miss Elizabeth Bennet?
This is such an iconic scene, and I have to say, as the years have gone by, I have sort of accepted, yes, you know, in order to make the movie more relevant to younger audiences, I guess why they did it. But there's a lovely version, a satire version called Lost in Austen. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen that, it is the most hilarious scene in that TV series where she asks Mr. Darcy to jump into the lake, and he has no idea why she wants him to jump into the lake, and he emerges in his wet shirt. But it is just a great, and I highly recommend Lost in Austen. If anyone hasn't seen it, I know it's got very mixed reviews. A lot of people don't like it, but it is plain and simple satire, funny, making fun of all the many versions of Pride and Prejudice that have come out. So I do think that's a great one to just mention.
Okay. Yeah, I have not seen it. So.
You haven't
No,
seen?
I have
Oh my
never seen
goodness, you have to see it.
No, that scene is really good where she's like, can I ask you to do something? Can you jump in the lake? And he's like, what?
Why? I really love that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that whole definitely a good. And if I just can say a little bit about it, so that's one of those not even time travel, crossing across dimensions, where this woman who loves Pride and Prejudice, her bathroom suddenly develops a portal through which Elizabeth Bennet comes out into the real world, London. And then she goes into the book through that portal. And they're the only two who can actually pass through this.
Oh my.
And then she goes and meets everyone. And she's also trying to make sure that it doesn't get changed, because so many generations of Jane Austen lovers would be so angry if the book doesn't happen the way it should. But she goes in and suddenly Bingley's looking at her instead of at Jane, and then there's no Elizabeth Bennet,
Right.
and so it's like we have to get Elizabeth Bennet back. So it's a great, I mean, it's definitely a very fun version to watch. Yeah.
That reminds me of the Frankenstein Unbound that we talked about, where they travel back in time, and it's like a bootstrap paradox thing.
Yeah.
Well, there's like a good discussion in Lost in Austen where she's like, I've been trying to shave my legs with a potato peeler.
Yeah, it's very funny, and the food they put on her plate, it's a really well done series.
So at this point in the story, Elizabeth has realized that Darcy does like her. He's not this terrible person. She's beginning to warm to him. Bingley is now back in the picture, actually, and he's like not asking about Jane, but kind of asking about Jane, and things are, seem like,
Now, what happened here? Is there like an off-page implication of a conversation between Darcy and him or something? Like, why is he suddenly like back and interested?
Oh, so they say Darcy's coming back to Pemberley tomorrow, right?
Uh-huh.
And he's bringing a party, including his sister and Bingley and all these people.
Okay.
Darcy then is very open with off-page, obviously, Bingley and all, saying Elizabeth is in town, and he's inviting Elizabeth to come eat with them and all that stuff. So Bingley, the moment he gets in town, hearing Elizabeth is there, comes and visits her. So it is made clear that Darcy has these people coming already, and then expresses to them like, hey, she's in town, we should see her. And he brings his sister immediately to see her because Georgiana wants to meet Elizabeth because she's heard such good things. So at this point, Elizabeth is really realizing that Darcy's painted a very good picture of her to his family. And Bingley is super excited to see her and does like the family.
Yeah, and at this point, though, Darcy isn't yet convinced about Jane and Bingley, but he is so much in love with Elizabeth that
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Well, because he never painted a like in other words, Bingley never lost interest in Jane. It was that Darcy had convinced him that Jane wasn't actually interested in him.
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Everything's going great, right? Like, we can wrap up the story, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
Easy peasy.
We get news that Lydia has run away with Wickham. And Elizabeth gets this letter like the moment before Darcy walks into the building. And she's alone, and Darcy is like, you need to sit down. Let me call for your people. Actually, she calls for them in the book. But, we're got to call for your aunt and uncle. We got to bring them back. And the news and the turmoil of this begins where right when Elizabeth thought she and Darcy were finally going to like start patching things up and things were going to move in a better direction, Darcy kind of just gets lost in thought, isn't thinking, and then he goes, I've been here, you don't want me here anymore, I have to go. And with that, she thinks that was it. That was the nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
Lydia has ruined her chances with Darcy.
The family reputation is now ruined. It
Yes.
already wasn't great to begin with.
Yeah. Well, the reputation wasn't bad as such. It was just they were not a very classy group.
Yes, right. Well, like, you know,
very
there's
sophisticated or anything.
some issues with Mrs. Bennet not being, you know, super proper in social
Yeah,
situations and
yeah.
things like that. So.
Yeah, but nothing that, you know, like, yes, Darcy and Bingley, well, not Bingley, but Darcy frowns upon some of these things,
Mhm.
but nothing that's like, oh, that's really bad. It's
No
just like,
great
no,
scandal.
we're not the same society.
Right.
And now it's like, no, that's bad. That's really bad. Basically, all the men in the family, Mr. Bennet, Mr. Gardiner, who is Mrs. Bennet's brother, run off to London. They're trying to find Lydia and Wickham, and Mr. Bennet is sent home, not able to find it, and there's just stress, and everyone's panicking, and then they finally get a letter from Mr. Gardiner, who details, we found them, we're gonna get them married to fix everything, don't worry. Here's like this like small little money that Wickham is asking for, and nobody understands why he would only ask for like $100, like $50 and then $100 a year when Mr. Bennet dies.
Yeah.
And they're like, this is ridiculous. Why does he want such little money?
Especially when it's clear historically with Georgiana that, like, he was going after this gigantic dowry.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, but none of them know the story of Georgiana because she's keeping it quiet.
Right.
That,
Yeah.
you know, she's maintaining his,
Yes.
privacy, the
but
confidentiality.
at least Lizzie knows about
Lizzie
this.
knows.
Yeah.
And so, that's exact. But in any case, they're thinking, like, why would he be willing to marry her for
And by
100
now-
pounds while he's alive and 50 after?
And by now they know he's been gambling too. So they know this is ridiculous. They know he would never like marry Lydia out of love,
Mhm.
right? They figured him out to an extent, whether they know about Georgiana or not. So yeah, they're like, why is he taking such little money? Mr. Gardiner must have really done something, have put down a lot of money to make this happen. Mr. Bennet doesn't want to see them ever again, doesn't want them in their house. He is convinced otherwise. They get married and they visit, and everyone except for Mrs. Bennet is annoyed.
But they visit because the older girls convince Mr. Bennet
Yes.
that, it would be the right thing to
Right.
do. Yeah.
Yes. And Lydia lets slip that Mr. Darcy was at the wedding.
Yep.
And Elizabeth starts putting the pieces together, but she writes to her aunt to figure out the truth. And Mrs. Gardiner says, yep, he paid for everything. That's why basically Wickham is taking nothing from you.
And that the only reason they let him do things because they thought he was in love with Elizabeth and he were talking about it.
Right.
So otherwise she would not have let him sort of
Right.
as a stranger step in. But she does. The use of letters in this book is so beautiful. Every letter is just lovely. And this letter that the aunt, Mrs. Gardiner, writes to Elizabeth about all that Darcy has done to, rescue them is just the most beautifully written letter.
I saw some kind of what seemed like unconfirmed conversation that the earliest drafts of the novel may have been fully epistolary.
Yeah.
That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
I think.
No, but
yeah.
I think it's much, because I feel that would have been too easy. It's like a first-person novel. Writing a
Right.
first-person novel, it's so much easier to write a first-person novel than, in my opinion, a third person, because you have to get into people's heads. Whereas if you're just saying, I thought this and I thought that, it's so much easier.
Yeah.
And that's why the use of the letters is so strategic in this book. Yeah.
I like it being scattered throughout
Scattered,
and not the full thing. But,
yeah. And in those days also people wrote long letters, which by the way I love, and I wish my children would write letters to me.
Wow, who are these terrible, awful children you're talking about?
Yeah. But yeah, it's just, it's really well done. And even the first letter that Darcy writes when he's explaining, defending himself against the accusations Elizabeth made when she rejected him. It's one of the most romantic pieces of writing in literature. Very beautiful.
Can I just defend my honor real quick? Do you know how hard it is to write a long letter to someone who you text like constantly every day? What am I supposed to write?
Just detail all the same things.
And then we texted, and this is what you said, and this is what I said.
This is what I was thinking.
You responded in haste, LOL.
You used an emoji. I wasn't sure what it meant. Now, we get to the good stuff. Bingley returns to Netherfield, and everyone is overjoyed. And of course, one of his first stops is the Bennet household. And Mrs. Bennet is pretty hilariously trying to get everyone out of the room every time he tries to visit. Before I read the book, I did not realize this was in the book. I thought it was a liberty. But Mrs. Bennet actually winks at Kitty like several times in the book. Yeah. And then Kitty goes, "Why are you winking at me?"
I assumed that was a liberty too. That's really funny.
But and it's such a fun part of the book. And in fact, in the 1940s version, which made me again so annoyed, was that they had to include the winking, but not in this part. They included it in the part when Mr. Collins is proposing.
Oh, that's right.
She's trying to get Kitty out, but she's holding Kitty's hand and winking at her while she's holding her hand and walking her out. I mean, yes, it was a very funny element in the book, but it was so unnecessary if you were shortening the book, into this short movie. Why did you have to put the winking in at that part?
Just using it all wrong.
It was using it all wrong.
Well, and the whole point is that Mr. Collins' proposal is kind of ridiculous and funny. You don't need comic relief or anything like
that's
that,
very
right?
True, yeah.
And the Mr. Bingley is, everyone knows it's coming. We're kind of with Mrs. Bennet, and we're waiting for it to happen. Yeah. And then she starts winking at Kitty, and you just lose your mind because it's funny. Literally, "Why are you winking at me, Mama?" Wink at you? Why should I wink at you? Like, that's literally, they've put it in at least the 95 version, and it's so funny.
It is very funny.
But it does work.
Well, this is again like the 2005 version, which really annoys me. The way they make Bingley, they make him this ridiculous character because he just comes in and then he's grinning like a fool.
He's constantly
and then
grinning.
Yeah, and then, then he's practicing proposing with Darcy, which maybe he did. In the book, they don't tell us, but Darcy does give him permission. But it was unnecessary because Bingley's actually a really nice character in the book, and he's an honorable, nice person. He's not silly. He's just easily persuaded, does not have confidence in his own opinion. So I just thought that kind of the Keira Knightley version, people love it so much, but there were some things that were really so unnecessary.
Yeah.
But
he's like this very tall, constantly grinning. Like, he reminds me of Conan O'Brien.
He does, and his hair is also
the hair and everything.
Yeah,
he literally looks like he looks and acts like Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Well, and he also grabs her ribbon at one time, which would have been quite inappropriate. And in the book, he's actually, it's not even that he's easily persuaded. He really trusts Darcy's opinion.
Right.
No one else could have convinced him to do that necessarily. I mean,
true.
Maybe they could have eventually got him, but Darcy's the only one who could have gotten him to up and leave Netherfield in a day.
Yeah. No, but he left Netherfield on work.
That's true.
And they followed him, but they convinced him to stay away.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, he is actually quite intelligent. He's very kind. He's patient. He never, in the 2005 version, he often looks lost. Mm-hmm. He never appears lost in the book. He's quite confident in who he is.
But in the 2005 version, 1995 version, he does actually try to, he stands up, in the book also, he stands up for Elizabeth, and he has an opinion.
Right.
Which in the 2005 version, he's shown as this spineless character. Now, people could not see that, but Alan,
it was very accurate.
It was very accurate. Alan making a very goofy face.
I'm sorry, did you say that he had already left for London for work?
Yeah.
Like some kind of loser that works?
Like a
Well,
plebeian?
you know, they do
What?
have to, maybe has to sign some
Oh,
papers.
that sounds like too much work. though.
That does, but they did have to do things like
Ugh.
that, yeah.
Bingley.
A working man? Forget about it.
Disgusting.
The winking works eventually. It gets Kitty out of the room, and then Mrs. Bennet pops back in and goes, "Oh, Elizabeth, I need to speak with you." And Elizabeth is like, "Sorry, Jane, you're on your own."
Because Jane had actually asked Elizabeth, "Don't leave me alone," because, you know, she was unsure of where things were going.
Yeah.
I mean, what did she think was going to happen?
Well, you know, I think she'd already been hurt so much.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, she's nervous to herself because she does still like Bingley, you know.
Yeah.
But Elizabeth, you know, they talk a little bit with her mom and all, and then she decides to return to the room to hopefully relieve Jane of whatever and help her and keep her word. And they're awfully cuddly by the fireplace, by the standards of the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
They are not really doing anything very inappropriate, but they
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, hee 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 hee." And then Mr. Bingley basically goes to ask Mr. Bennet for permission to marry Jane. And Elizabeth, she knows what's going on, but Jane tells her. And they're all overjoyed.
They squeal and giggle.
They do.
Yeah.
Suddenly, Lady Catherine de Bourgh shows up. And everyone is like, "What do we do with the honor of Lady Catherine de Bourgh? This is
Yeah.
interesting." And Elizabeth is like, "Oh, shit."
Well, she didn't know what she had come for. She just knew
She
it could
just-
not
yeah,
be
can't
good
be good.
news or
Exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
Lady Catherine de Bourgh basically goes on a diatribe, telling Elizabeth, "You cannot marry my nephew. Why am I hearing you're going to marry Mr. Darcy? He's engaged to my daughter," which, you know, good news not to marry your own cousin.
Uh-huh.
You really shouldn't do that. But
They did in those
yeah,
days.
they didn't know at the
Who
time.
was the very first one to show up? Mr. Collins.
Yeah. And Elizabeth in the book really is very strong, and it very, like, I mean, she really just doesn't answer Lady Catherine's questions until, like, very much at the end, where she's like, "I mean, no, he hasn't. I have no plans to marry him.
Well,
Okay, bye."
Lady
Yeah.
Catherine is the one that describes it in almost every version of her. What does she say? You speak your mind very forthrightly, or something.
And which was
like,
yes, you speak very
Plainly, I
plainly
think, yeah.
for
Yeah.
someone your age, which is what she started off their relationship
yeah,
with.
exactly.
Yeah, but this is now where I get really angry with the 1940s version.
Oh my god!
That
it
is
just
like-
goes off the rails.
It goes off the rails because this is such an iconic moment in the book. I mean, it is absolutely the moment in the
Yeah.
book. And they made, do you want to say what?
I almost want you to do it because I feel
Yeah.
like you're very passionate about it.
Yeah, because Lady Catherine de Bourgh comes in and she apparently loves her nephew so much and loves Elizabeth for her nephew that she basically wants to prove that, yes, she's testing Elizabeth by saying you need to promise
But-
not to marry him. And when Elizabeth stands up to her, she says, "Yes, you are the right person."
Yeah.
Doesn't say it to Elizabeth, but goes and tells Darcy, "Yes, she's the right person.
But-
You're such a spoiled young man. You need a woman who can stand up to you. I was just testing her out." And it's just ridiculous the way, she
It's
tells
just totally
Elizabeth,
insane.
"I have control over his fortune and I'm going to cut him off." And Elizabeth says, "That's fine. I'm still not going to promise not to marry him."
Aha! You have passed my test.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Well,
That is
And then it's
just
like,
the
yes,
worst.
Darcy's like, yes, I sent her as my ambassador.
the whole thing in the book is that Darcy decides to come back one more time and is spurred to somehow broach the subject one more time because his aunt is in an uproar. And he's like, "Yeah, I like Elizabeth."
Yeah.
And and
she's
if
like
she,
the nail in the coffin that both of them are like, well, we can also piss her off, so let's do it.
Well, no, but he also, Darcy does understand that if Elizabeth stood up to, Lady Catherine and said, "No, I am not going to promise not to marry him," then maybe he still has a chance, because she's not one to say, if she wasn't going to marry him, she'd just say, I'm not going to marry him.
Which it actually had nothing to do with her feelings for Darcy. She just really dislikes Lady Catherine and just wanted to make her mad.
Well, she's also, but again, Elizabeth speaks her mind throughout the book.
Yeah. Yeah.
A well-established fact.
Well-established, a truth universally acknowledged.
But as we say, Mr. Darcy finds the time to propose, which in the book is actually just a walk where they're just talking and he's finally
But again, so beautifully done.
It is.
In the book as well as in the movie.
Yeah.
In the 1995 version.
Yes. The 2005 version is quite different.
Yeah.
But he does find the time to say, I think you would have just told her, no, I'm not going to marry him if you didn't like me. So I decided to come and see if you, just tell me. I won't bug you anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I think I like you.
Yeah.
And they do their secret handshake. Why don't we talk about this second proposal scene a little bit before we fully wrap up?
Sure.
Because as we say, the 1995 version is pretty faithful. We've talked a little bit about the 1940 version. Mr. Darcy's playing games with having...
Insane.
It's bizarre. It's one of the strangest choices you could make.
Which the book Elizabeth would be like, oh, you were playing games? I don't want you.
Yeah, she does not play games like that.
Which it's like in the 1940 version in general, Lady Catherine is a little more comedic than she is in any other version. It really leans into it after
in the
that
1940s.
scene.
Yeah, there's the scene where when she comes to their house, there's a parrot and a music box and she sits and was... Why do we need all of this?
It's literally slapstick.
And then Mr. Collins is falling over something. I mean, it is the most ridiculous scene.
It's because this is during the Lydia scandal. And they're moving, they're getting all their stuff ready to move out of Longbourn because they're, so scandalized.
They can't live in that neighborhood anymore, that she has ruined their reputation.
Oh my gosh.
Lydia or Kitty or someone has a pet parrot or something.
Someone has a music box. I mean, it's just so ridiculous.
My gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that should have been Pride and Prejudice with a question mark. Emma with a period.
Right.
I mean, this is exactly. It's like when you look at all these versions, right? Like Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and all, which are completely ridiculous, but still are more faithful to the book than this 1940s
right. Somehow,
version.
some way.
They've got the, get the essence of the book and the characters,
right.
which this one just missed.
So
crazy.
Tell me about how Darcy proposes in the 2005 version.
So this is just ultimate drama at this point. So the whole scene with Lady Catherine is just very dramatic. They're just going at it. And then, that kind of ends, and then the scene right before he comes to propose, he comes and emerges out of the fog. It's like, hello, I'm here.
Which I heard that the actor was not, he didn't have his glasses or contacts in.
Really?
So he, couldn't really see where he was.
So
he just would, walk and, keep walking until someone yelled at him to stop. Because he couldn't see much. He could see where the crew was.
Are you serious?
That's what I've heard.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, he's considered also very good, Mr. Darcy. He is. He's definitely a heartthrob, but,
I don't know that I quite get it, to be honest.
No, for
especially
women,
in the wake of Colin Firth. I'm just
I
don't understand this.
Well, this, what's his name? The actor, Matthew McFadyen. Yeah, I don't know how you pronounce it.
McFadyen, I think.
McFadyen. Anyway, so he, though, is definitely more like a Heathcliff, like your, Emily Bronte's Heathcliff. He's more of the suffering from passion and
a tortured artist.
Very tortured.
Very tortured.
I mean, they even give him the kind of swooping emo
hair
a little bit,
and everything. So again, it's for the times, so the way they've portrayed him. And so him rising from the fog, from the walking through the heat, it is somewhere between, it is Emily Bronte as opposed to Jane Austen. So it's sort of bringing all that together.
Maybe they saw I think it was Charlotte Bronte's critique of Pride and Prejudice, and they went, how would we make her like it? That's the 2005 version.
Yeah, but you know, it
yeah.
is the 2005 version has all these like real, like, you know, passionate one, like when they show his hand, they focus in on his hand because, you know, he's touched her and his hand, it's like holding all his love and everything.
It does, like, it really does make this, like, quote unquote steamiest version of it without actually being steamy.
But
you know what I mean?
know, it's a steamy version in every way because it's full of, you know, the wet mud throughout the scene.
Literally,
that is, including the pig. Why?
They are very wet in a lot of these scenes.
But why do you have the scene of the pig coming in from the mud with his focusing on its testicles? Do you remember that? And there are some things that are so unnecessary. The pigs are in that version somewhat, but so you wonder, what was this? Like, there's some symbolism here I'm totally missing.
I don't know. I know that they really made an effort to make it say, well, first of all, the setting, the time period has changed. This is not set in early 19th century. The 2005 version is specifically set in the late 18th century. They moved it up to pre-Regency era on purpose.
Well, so that's, I did not know that. I mean, I didn't really notice that at all. It didn't come across to me, but yeah.
And they wanted to make the Bennets seem even more rural and poor.
Yeah, well,
and they're like on a work, like Longbourn is like a working farm, basically, and that's why she's always. It's not just the scene where she walks, you know,
but that's,
it's like she's always trouncing through mud. and getting dirty.
Well, yes, that's interesting. I mean, I have to say, I hadn't read any reviews or I'd read and looked into it, but it's just the whole sense of the movie. And though I will say, even in the 1995 version, the use of hands and touch is very much a part of the of that whole series, which I think they carried on somewhat in this. Of course, it's like a maybe under 2-hour version. You know, the second one, the other one's 5 hours or 4.5 hours. So you know, you have more time. But I think both of them really do use touch very well, and this looking back over your shoulder and looking at the person. They're really well done in both movies.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, they get married.
What?
There's no actual wedding scene in the book.
No.
But it is the day that Mrs. Bennet, you know, whatever, said goodbye or to her two most deserving daughters.
Yeah.
She's doing really good at this point. 3 out of 5 in like the span of a couple weeks. Pretty good.
Very
I do love that, like, you know how in movies they'll have like the cards at the end that say, and like John went on to do this, and Bobby went on. They basically wrap up the book like that. A whole
chapter of that.
And it's like everyone's pretty happy. Mary's doing okay. She's still at home. Kitty gets to go live with her older sisters most of the time and really develops into a wonderful person. Lydia's life sucks.
but you know, they are still nice and helping Lydia as much as they can. And but you know, one thing that I did not like in the 1995 version, in this final scene, is when they show the marriage, and they actually, well, it was kind of interesting where they're talking about, you know, marriage was for prevent against fornication, and they cut to or for the procreation of children, and they cut to this miserable daughter of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. So that's kind of nice, and which is fine. But that fact that Mrs. Bennet says to Mr. Bennet, God has been very kind to us, which is not something Jane Austen would do. She does not talk about God. And it was like, why did you bring that in at the very end?
Very interesting.
So I just was a little bit like, why? Why? She could have said, life has been so good to us, or something like that, instead of saying, you know, God has been very kind to us.
I actually, in general, don't like the ending of that very much. It's one of my only sticking points with the whole thing. I don't like that they do a marriage ceremony. It's kind of goofy. It's like, do you take this woman and this man and this woman and this man, and like you know, they do the scan across all 4 of them.
The quadruple,
Yeah.
I don't. It doesn't. I'm like, I didn't need that. Like,
Yeah.
I actually really love the way that the 2005 version ends, where it's this very emotional conversation between
The
Lizzie and her father.
incandescent- Oh, wow.
Well,
The incandescent
that's
love.
that is only in the U.S. version.
Oh, really?
It is, yes. So
I
there is
did
an
not-
added scene which we'll talk about.
Oh, interesting.
But
Well,
no,
look, I'm
in the
learning so much.
international and the original UK version, it just ends with that conversation between Lizzie and her father
Oh,
when he's doubting like, what are the intentions here? I
Yeah.
thought you hated Darcy. Like, why do you want to get married to him? And it's this very emotional scene between the two of them.
Right.
I cry every time I see it. Actually, I
Aw.
find it quite moving.
Yeah.
And then the film just ends there, and I think that's the perfect way to end it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, why do, film directors think they have to hit Americans over the head with,
I don't know.
displays of, PDAs?
Yes, so what you're referring to is that there is an additional scene that was released
Oh.
only in the US market, and I think has even been taken out of some versions later
Really?
on.
I did not know that.
But yes, where they have a scene between the two of them, at a very tender scene between the two of them at Pemberley later on, like during an evening after they've been married. So.
Yeah. And he's smooching her all over the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Oh,
I think the film benefits without that scene.
Well, so the other, again, PDA kind of moment in that 2005 version is when she's, Elizabeth Bennet has rejected his marriage proposal, and they show him focusing on her lips and bending forward almost like he was going to kiss her. And that was, again, so unnecessary and not something they would have done, regardless of whether you put it, 30 years before or later. It just is not what would have been done. Yeah. Well, and speaking of settings, that was the other thing about the 1940s version that really bothered me, where it looks more like Civil War America.
It is.
Isn't
The Regency costuming is like non-existent.
But I really think what they were doing is trying to work off the success of Gone with the Wind, which came out the year before.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the feel is so much like Gone with the Wind.
Guarantee that's what it is.
Yeah, because it's ridiculous. Why would you change it? It could have been a beautiful Regency type of movie.
Well, and the other thing that one really lacks, which is very common for that period, but it wasn't unheard of for them to branch out, is just that it's entirely done on sets. And all of these other versions get some of these nice scenes in the countryside and outside. You don't need a lot of it, but like that one is entirely done on sets that aren't even that well designed.
Yeah, and so much in that 1940s version was so unnecessary. You remember there's a race, the carriages racing in the beginning, that there are Mrs. Bennet and Mrs. Lucas are in a cloth, whatever, a drapier, trying to buy cloth for their children, for their clothes. And then they talk about Mr. Bingley being in town, and then they both start racing to get home first, so their husbands can go visit Mr. Bingley. And it is just the most ridiculous
What you're
scene.
describing is the perfect movie. Okay,
In those days.
Gone with the Wind and Ben-Hur wrapped into
Oh,
one.
yeah, exactly. They are. You just needed the little, what was it, those knives in the wheels from
exactly.
Ben-Hur, yeah.
They should have just really leaned into that.
Yeah. It was just,
Pride and Prejudice and Ben-Hur.
Ben-Hur, yeah.
Just turn it into combat sport for, for marriage.
Yeah. Well, just like, I'm just going to give you all my criticisms of the 1940s. May I?
We haven't even talked about the added archery scene.
The archery scene, well, of course. But that, we get to that. But everything, even he sort of rejects the first dance where he talks about her as tolerable. He rejects her as being part of the middle class.
Yes.
And that, it's like, who talked about middle class? Even I don't even know if in the Civil War period they were talking about the middle class. I was like, why would you talk about that? It was just so inappropriate, or I don't know. The timing was off.
Yeah, I don't. It just doesn't. It doesn't really capture what that whole sequence is about.
Yeah. It doesn't capture what he was really even talking about.
Right.
Yeah. and know, and then one of the, and actually those balls all run together in the 1940s.
Well, they do. They just, there's nothing to break them up.
Nothing,
they kind of just go from one to the next.
And I can't even tell which ball when one ended next.
Right.
But then, like even where she rejects, so Mr. Darcy comes to ask her for a dance and she says no. And Mr. Wickham walks up immediately and she turns to him and says yes, which is her way of giving him a set down. But on the other hand, that's not something Elizabeth Bennet would ever have done, or it was just not done.
It's kind of a funny scene. But
it is a funny scene, but it's just like, very over the top, unnecessarily comedic, unnecessarily crude almost. Yeah.
And that's why I have my opinion about both of the films as just films and then as adaptations of this book.
That's true.
Because my opinions differ quite greatly depending on those two things.
I cannot separate them. That's any movie I watch, I'm really looking at how faithful was it, at least to the tone, if not to the actual script.
But the 1940 version doesn't really benefit from any of that. Like, it's not a particularly good movie anyway. It has a couple of moments that, again, are like not even fitting with the characters or what it's adapting from, but standing on their own, they're like okay. But all the characters in that version are very flat. Like, there's just not a whole lot of depth to them.
Well, the archery scene.
Let's tell us about it.
Before the archery, I mean, so in the 1940s version, Darcy is in love with her almost immediately. Like, he refuses to dance with her and he falls in love with her, and everything is about him being in love with her. And so they've gone to that, whatever that event is that they're at.
Like a garden party.
A garden party. And Darcy steps in to help Elizabeth as she's running away from Mr. Collins. She is hiding from Mr. Collins and Darcy helps her. So he's already doing things. So there's no real reason why Elizabeth isn't falling in love with him, because he's doing all these things that are helpful and nice to her. But they also, at that point, like he refers to himself as St. George, Collins as the dragon. What? Why? Why was that necessary? Like, I'm saving you from the... That is a total thing that was a little bit over the top.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And you tell us about the archery scene. It obviously meant a lot to you.
I don't know that I would say it meant a lot. It's just a really noticeable addition that I don't fully understand.
But it's talking about him like being somewhat patronizing. He's like, oh, let me show you how to do the same. Yes. And she, of course, immediately fires off 3 bullseyes.
Yeah, like straight in a row. Which it's like, okay, I get it. It's trying to say like Elizabeth is this, kind of headstrong character or whatever, because God forbid they show it in any other way throughout the rest of the movie.
But she is capable, and that's the thing. And he is a little bit macho, which yes he was, but that he then admits, I'm going to be very careful from now on.
He says, next time I talk to a young lady about archery, I won't be so patronizing.
It was just very funny.
Did you have anything else on that version?
Well, on that, it's just the whole thing of, I did, that patronizing thing was very important, but it's, and after that, that scene then ends with Carolyn then, being really mean. She starts going to Elizabeth Bennet and saying, oh, what a wonderful family you have with these people who behave badly and people who can't sing and, you walk in the dirt or whatever,
There's just all the nuances lost.
And then Elizabeth Bennet starts crying and Mr. Darcy goes and tries to comfort her. And so, it's just like such a different book. It's like you've just taken the names from this book, but then you've got your own story and whole thing happening over there.
Wow.
At its core, like, the most important thing about this story is its characters and their little eccentricities. It's just totally flattened in this version.
Wow.
Yeah, and in this version also, like, Elizabeth says to him some point early on that you should laugh more. And then he comes and tells her later on, yes, I have taken your advice and I'm trying to laugh more, but I'm still miserable.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh my God.
And it's not like it doesn't like understand the essence of the characters, because they still fit into these like kind of archetypes of, like Mrs. Bennet is still really dramatic and kind of shrill, and the younger sisters are all silly and flirty, and like it hits all these things that are like at the core of the characters, but it doesn't really capture it.
Yeah. Well, you remember in the movie, there's a scene when she is sick, Jane, and Bingley is standing behind the screen, which he can see straight over. So I don't even know why they have the screen, but they have the screen, and he keeps bending down and popping his head up to translate what the apothecary is saying to Jane. And he's using this very technical language to describe a cold and a headache and all of that. So, Bingley has to keep popping his head up and saying, oh, that's a cold. That's
right.
I was just like creating these silly scenes, comedy. Why?
It sounds like they were more concerned with like set pieces, basically, and moments.
But it's just like, I don't know, man. I'll just go watch Bringing Up Baby if I want to watch this. Like, I don't need this in Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, just make a different movie. Wow.
This one also notably ends with both Kitty and Lydia, the final scene is them like flirting again with, I think, soldiers or something.
Yeah, with Mr. Denny. And
is it? With okay. But it's like very much the implication that like they're next. They're about to also get married.
And that's also throughout all of the versions, they really focus on poor Mary's weak voice, which I feel really sad for her in all of the movies. They just show her being this ridiculous.
She's just trying her best, man.
She is trying her best, but it ends with her hitting the note because she's got this guy who's playing the flute with her, and she hits the note, right? So sort of a happy ending all around. Yeah. Yeah.
That is the only one that gives her anything at the end.
That gives her, but the book does give her that at the end. That, when she stopped being compared, the comparison with her older sisters, then she started going out a lot more with her mother. And so, becoming more of a lighthearted character and not being so focused on trying to be better in some way or the other.
Right.
Outshine her sisters. Yeah. I'd like to the 1980s version, which was the original, I think, BBC. Or maybe there were older BBC versions.
I named from
you named some, but they were all BBC versions.
They were all BBC.
Oh my God, I've got to try to find them. That's amazing.
Yeah, some of them, I have no idea if they still exist.
Yeah, but that 1980 BBC version I actually really liked. And I feel Elizabeth Bennet in that really gets the characters, really reflects the Jane Austen picture. I mean, Mr. Darcy's a little too grumpy and has a stick up, where, but he's just she's a very cute character.
When you watch a lot of these movies, you'd be surprised how often Darcy smiles in the book. There's a lot of times where he'll like smile or be amused by something and not just be sitting there like scowling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the funny things, especially for the people who's like their first and only Darcy is Matthew McFadden. They just any time Darcy, like they'll watch the miniseries and be like, he's too happy. He's still quite serious.
And many people have only seen that version. And and I'm just going to go off again when someone I was talking to made the comment, I hate Jane Austen. And I was like, who hates Jane Austen? Even people who've only discovered her through her movies, and whether it's the Pride and Prejudice version or Bridget Jones' Diary or Clueless, Jane Austen is fun, whichever way you look at it. So I was just really shocked when someone said they hate Jane Austen. And I had to sort of calm down. I could not ask her why. So I have to go back to her at some point and ask her why when I am calm and can deal with this better.
Very curious to hear what the reasoning is there.
I will say Bridget Jones' Diary, both the book and the movie, just the first one, none of the few sequels, was a kind of fun version of this book and movie.
And notably has Colin Firth playing the Darcy character.
That was part of making fun of the whole thing, sort of like Lost in Austen, like taking the movies and sort of joining them and making fun of them.
I found this very funny snippet from Wikipedia talking about Colin Firth in the wake of his career in the wake of the miniseries, because he was pretty little known before he played Darcy in the show. But obviously he went on to have quite a illustrious career. But it said that he had expressed the wish to not be associated with Pride and Prejudice forever, and was reluctant to accept similar roles. He took on diverse roles and starred in productions such as The English Patient, Shakespeare in Love, Bridget Jones's Diary, Love Actually, and Bridget Jones: The Edge of Reason.
Yep, such diversity.
Yep, very diverse, very far away from Pride and Prejudice.
That is funny. Though, the Bridget Jones second book is a little bit different. The character is pretty funny, and there's that scene. Is that the one where she has the baby? And
No, that's the third.
That's the third.
That's Bridget Jones's baby.
That's Bridget Jones's baby. No, but anyway, it is still somewhat funny. Yeah.
It's just how can you get away from that?
Yeah.
And I don't the novels of Bridget Jones were written directly inspired by the 1995 miniseries.
Well, the book.
No, the author said that she watched the miniseries and then wrote the novels.
And she wrote it very quickly, also. Yeah. But it's very well done, and it definitely has it came out literally the next year after the miniseries, so she did it very fast.
Very quickly. Yeah.
And that's true fan fiction. Yeah. I know a couple of different ones I'd love to mention, which I did mention already. The 2016, and Zombies, Pride and Prejudice. I really love that, again, with really mixed reviews, but I did enjoy that a lot.
What is it that you like about it? Just that it adds a new element?
It adds a new element, but it is also, I think that feminism element is there, which I really feel Jane Austen has, and that carrying on that feminism element is just great. And bringing in all the martial arts and some of the supernatural, the fantasy kind of, But then there was a 2003 version of Pride and Prejudice, which is set in Utah. It is, I do not recommend it.
This isn't the Latter-day Saints version, is it?
It is.
It is? That was 2003?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't necessarily recommend it. So it just...
You've seen it?
I have. I've seen it more than once. Because I wanted to give it another chance. I was like, did I really? What was... Yeah.
It's literally titled Pride and Prejudice, an LDS love story or something.
Is that what it says? But I assume because it is and they talk about the church and all through it and the Bible and all. But, it's a silly thing, and I imagine,
Nisha's face is appalled.
It's very interesting.
But, I do suspect that Mrs. Bennet would fit in well if you're a Mormon mother whose main motive in life is to find, make sure your daughters are well married.
That's true.
And that would be,
Maybe there is
well.
something there.
Yeah, there is something there. So, yeah. There's an Indian version, I should say, not Hindi, which is Pride and Prejudice, which came out in 2004.
Okay.
Which is by the Gurinder Chadda, who's the one who did Bend It Like Beckham.
Okay.
And it's actually quite a fun, very, very much a Bollywood type of movie, rollicking good time. It sort of makes fun of the Indian diaspora, but it's a fun version. Like many Bollywood movies, unnecessarily long, but but it's a kind of a fun version. So I did sort of like that. Yeah, but otherwise, I think it's one of the, probably not as many versions as, say, Dracula or some of these other books that have been made into.
Well, Dracula is the most adapted literary character of all
Right.
time by a long shot.
Yeah.
By Frankenstein.
No,
so-
followed by Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, that's right. And then
Yeah.
Frankenstein.
So, I know there are other books. But even Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre has been adapted in many languages and, really been made into movies. But I think this is probably right up there.
Yeah.
I think things like Dracula and Sherlock Holmes and Frankenstein get a little bit of a bump up because there's also video games and stuff like that. You can't really make a Pride and Prejudice video game.
No.
I guess you could do like a dating sim.
Yeah, a dating
but-
sim.
But
really
like,
fun.
I'm
would
sure
love that.
I'm sure it exists.
Yeah.
But that's just, you're not going to make as many of those as you're going to have Dracula appear in 20 different video games in 20 different ways.
Right.
And we have Castlevania, and then we have all these other Sherlock Holmes, and they feed in very well to a variety of video games.
Yeah.
Whereas Pride and Prejudice, it's kind of limited to.
Well, Pride and Prejudice has so many characters. I think you could do like a choose your own adventure kind of a thing where, have them all go off in different
You
directions
definitely
and
could.
what would happen. And,
Yeah.
if Lydia had just slapped Wickham across the face, then what would be the next thing?
Yeah.
It'd be different. Yeah.
Well, we
Kinda
look
fun.
forward to your Pride and Prejudice dating sim that
Yeah.
releases in 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Were there any of the other like not direct adaptations that you wanted to talk about? Like I know there's like Becoming Jane.
Yeah, I know, I love the books. I will say, in the Jane Austen book club, and there's lots of which I really watch all of them. I really do love all of them. I have to say, I've watched so many of them over such a long time, and some of them not so recently. So I can't just speak because now it's getting colored by all the ones I've watched
Of
more
course.
recently.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we
but-
could do probably a whole nother episode on a lot of those, honestly.
Yeah.
But there are other Jane Austen books you could really do.
Oh, we will.
Yeah,
But I want to
course,
say
yeah.
Emma is one, which is just
Yeah.
really fun, and the
Mhm.
different versions, and think like it's got all these riffs like Clueless. And
Yeah.
so it'll be kind of fun if you would do it.
Don't
yeah.
you worry, we'll definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's fun because so much of her work has been like when we talk about things like you're just saying about Dracula and stuff. There's like a lot of direct adaptations, and then of course so many of that movies and stuff following that have just taken on a life of their own.
Yeah.
But these are so different, and that
Yeah.
there is so much like fan fiction that has turned into
Absolutely.
its own
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah,
with
and
all of this work.
Yeah, and you have to give the 1995, miniseries credit for actually popularizing Jane Austen so much,
Yeah.
and or this whole industry of things going off, fan fiction and fan movies, sort
Mhm.
of really coming out of that.
Yeah.
And so it's just really fun.
Yeah. So what do we think? Is the book better than the movie? I mean, okay, so 1940 version, obviously not.
No, it's
That
just very
one-
silly and not even a very good
It's
movie.
yeah,
Not
it doesn't
okay.
count. Yeah.
Like 2.5, maybe 3 out of 5.
Okay. That sounds pretty generous, but okay.
Oh my god. Yeah, that's very generous. Yeah.
It's like a 1.5 out of 5 as an adaptation.
As an
Yeah.
adaptation, yeah. Okay.
And then we have the 1995 version, which I've watched it many times. It's kind of like a Christmas tradition that we watch it around this
Yeah.
time of year. But I didn't watch it yet, so I'm going to watch it as soon as we leave this room. I really like it, but I'm going to say I think the book wins out even against that version.
The 95 version is a flawless masterpiece,
Yeah.
which I love very deeply. But what makes it so good is that it's able to capture things from the book appropriately. It pulls lines directly from the novel. It captures the essence of the characters and their eccentricities. It doesn't always do it exactly one-to-one,
Yeah.
but like that's the parts that make it good, is its dialogue, the way that it times it, the way that it sets it up to be humorous in the way it's supposed to be. And then it's just, generally pretty well designed. Like I like the sets, I like the costumes, all that is also well done.
The costuming is famously extremely period accurate.
Yes, it
Very
is.
good.
Yeah,
It's
I
the
think-
only one with period accuracy.
But I think including the undergarments and everything,
Uh-huh.
because that will affect how the dresses lie on your body.
Yeah.
So that one I have heard is historically the garments are extremely accurate to the period. The costuming was done
Yeah.
very well. Hair, makeup,
Yeah.
all of that done very well.
which is quite an accomplishment.
It is a real accomplishment. I will say it probably isn't as have the tongue-in-cheek and sarcasm and the humor, the level the book has.
Mhm.
But I can't see how you could do that because so much of the humor in the book
Right.
are in asides or in comments. So
Yep.
I think it's captured it pretty well, but it would be impossible to capture what the book has.
All right. But I still have not heard, now that we come to it, I still have not heard fully your thoughts on the 2005 version. I feel like you've been holding back a little bit.
Well, so the 2005 version, I did not like it at all when I first watched it. I just did not. And I actually saw it in the theater when it came out. I did not like it. And then as I've watched it more and more, it's sort of grown on me. But it's still, Yeah, but again, it was very, yeah, it has, the 2005 version, I definitely feel it's based on the 1995 version. It's not based on the book at all. So a lot of the things that come out of that, even it has so much that is pointless in it. Again, coming back to the pigs. Why was it necessary to have the pigs walking through like that? Also the way Keira Knightley treats her mother, it is so disrespectful most of the time. And that is just unfortunate because how much ever, Jane and Elizabeth saw their mother's flaws and they saw their father's flaws, they always treated them with respect. And she doesn't do that in the movie.
And they didn't necessarily let Mrs. Bennet walk all over them, especially not Elizabeth. She stood her ground and was honest and didn't let herself get insulted. She, she demanded respect herself, but she is very kind to her mother, and she loves her mother and understands her mother loves her.
Absolutely,
even if there's the challenge back and forth.
It like embraces the flaws in parenthood. And
which is again true life. That's how we all are. We see our parents, and as you become adults, you see their flaws and you see their weaknesses. But it's like, but she's my mother, and therefore I understand, or I understand where she's coming from, that kind of thing. So I definitely think that there is an iconic line in the Keira Knightley 2005 version, which is when he asks which of his cousins he can thank for the excellent boiled potatoes. And there are t-shirts, there are bags, there are magnets made of that line. It's similar almost to the wet shirt scene from the 1995 version, because people really talk about the excellent boiled potatoes all the time. There was no mention of excellent boiled potatoes, but he did ask which of his cousins was responsible for the excellent cooking. So yes, it was there. So, but that was a clever use of that line. Right. It was well done.
That's very funny.
But again, it's also making poor Mr. Collins so ridiculous in the movie. But there are these little things which you say, it's where did they get this from? But the other thing is also in the Lady Catherine de Bourgh's famous scene where she comes to talk to Elizabeth. It's done kind of in a strange.
Played by Dame Judi Dench.
I know, and it just was a little bit strange. But she also, I don't know whether this is the editing or the way the script was written, but she says, "You have a small garden of them." And then nothing about it. Whereas in the book, in the 1995 version, she talks about it because they're going to go out and talk,
It was just her little cherry on top,
But it was so unnecessary. It was like, why did you say that? Did you just say it because it's mentioned in the last movie? What was the point about this? So it's actually not mentioned in the book. She doesn't actually talk about the small garden. She says, let's go out. There's
some woods,
a pretty little copse or something out there. Let's go there. So, but it's just so funny, that this movie. I sometimes wonder about the editing, whether they were trying to fit it into a certain amount of time, and therefore some of these things happened. They could have edited the pigs out. I'm sorry.
I think that was very on purpose.
Yeah, but it is, and it's just silly. But the other thing about it, and you talked, Nisha, you talked about the costuming and the 1995 version. The thing that one of the things that really bothered me about this movie was Keira Knightley's hair. She has this wig and she has this short hair sticking out at the bottom throughout. It's like, could you not tuck the hair under the wig?
Right.
Does it have a purpose? If it was curled, I'd say yes, it has a purpose. It's trying to make her look like, but they're not obviously in that exact period from what you said. It's like, why didn't they fix her hair?
Yeah, you really see it in the scene when she's at Pemberley getting the tour, and you'll see her turn a few times, and you really see the hair sticking out.
And you see, but it's throughout the movie. It's anytime you see her somewhat from the side or the back, you can see this silly little bits of hair sticking out. It's like, why would you not just stick that in?
Yeah. It does not have the same attention to detail when it comes to that.
But that is more than no attention. That is just like someone didn't do their job.
Yeah.
As I have said many times on this podcast, Black women have been wearing wigs and making them look amazing for a very long time.
Yeah.
How dare you do that badly of a job on a wig when there is someone out there who could have nailed it.
For you, exactly. Yeah.
So here's an interesting tidbit.
Okay.
based on you saying that you felt like the '05 movie was more of an adaptation of the miniseries. The director Joe Wright had never seen the miniseries when he made this film.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
that was somewhat on purpose.
Okay.
He had seen the 1940 movie, but that was it.
That's even worse.
Well,
Yeah.
he probably went, I'm not going to do that. And maybe that's part of the issue. He took it too far in the other direction of making things too serious, too gritty, too dirty.
It's exactly what
it's a
the
gritty,
point is, but it doesn't really work as an adaptation to me.
Yeah, and even the sound in the movie, the editing, I don't know how they did like the sound when he's proposing to her, it's raining, and it almost feels like they had a camera, they could have dubbed it or done something to make the sound better. In that part, the sound is so poor in that part of the movie.
It's really not very good.
Which you think in this modern day and age, why would you have such poor sound in a movie, a sudden scene of the movie? Yeah, so there's a lot of little things that annoy me in that movie.
I didn't get that impression.
I did. But, I do. I as I said, Keira Knightley fits the character. If they had done a good job in directing her. And
she did get nominated for Best Actress that year for that role.
Oh, yeah, why?
I mean, she is good. The movie and the script she was given don't let her be the best Jane.
And I guess
it's not her fault.
I'm still not a huge fan of it, to be honest, of her general performance. I don't know. And she was basically it was like I get one, you get one. They actually wanted to use mostly unknown actors that they felt like hit it. And that was one of the requirements, was that they have at least one very well-known person. Or at least a balance of the two. And so literally they described it as the trade-off of, well, she's so famous coming off of Pirates of the Caribbean, and that they really wanted to hire Matthew McFadyen, who was basically unknown at the time. Yeah. So that was kind of the trade-off there.
Oh, they did have Donald Sutherland.
Yes, they did. Well, and I mean, some of the sisters, Rosamund Pike and Carey Mulligan.
Yeah, they did have good characters. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the book wins.
Absolutely. 100%.
People have tried.
For the record, I do actually like the 2005 version.
Yeah.
I think it's overall, there's still some questionable editing, some of the stuff you're talking about, but I think overall it's actually a well-done movie. It's just not a good Pride and Prejudice. It's a good romance film on its own.
You're right. I will totally give you that.
Especially, it sucks me in straight from the beginning, because I actually really love... First of all, I'm a sucker for the little piano theme in that movie. I think it's really well done, and it's nicely spread out throughout. And especially the opening, you go on a tour of Longbourn to start the movie. The camera is very...
Yeah, with her walking across that little bridge with the book.
So it's following her reading... and then you move through the rooms on a Steadicam through Longbourn, and I think it's really, really well done with the piano theme playing, and I think really the camera work overall is quite good. It captures, there's the very famous scene of her walking, and it's the kind of far off shot with just her silhouette across the background and everything, and I think it's actually really well done. It's just it makes a lot of questionable choices.
Yeah, as far as
an
the
adaptation.
Book. Yeah, that's true, and it's just, for me, it's so hard to separate anything. I know the book almost by heart, so it becomes really hard. But I have watched the movie many times, and the more I watch it, the more I like it. If I can just cut out the hair sticking out from, that's probably the most annoying thing. That because it is jarring.
Yes.
The rest of it is okay, it's fine, whatever. I may not agree with it, but it's there. But that is actually jarring.
It's such a funny thing, because especially for people our age, that movie came out when we were hitting 12, 13, obviously a very formative time. So there's a lot of people our age with very strong opinions, both positive and negative towards that movie.
When I saw it in theaters, obviously my mother took me because it was a Pride and Prejudice. I had just started wearing glasses, and I had forgotten to bring my glasses.
Had you?
Oh my god.
Yes. Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. Oh, I remember you were like, really? You forgot to bring your glasses? But so the first time I saw it, I could see. Okay, well, that's why I forgot my glasses, is I could get around. But watching a movie without your glasses is pretty rough.
That's really in a theater. Yeah.
Well, I think that about sums up our thoughts. Yeah. But before we sign off, it's time for a game.
Oh dear.
So this is our tagline quiz. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da. I always do some kind of theme for it. That's this month's theme.
Very consistent.
It's never consistent. I tried to find something that maybe you would know on my list, and I don't really have anything, but we're going to see if together you two can figure this one out.
I thought I knew what you were doing already.
I thought about doing that, but maybe I'm going to save that for another time.
Okay. Dang, I thought I had a gimme today.
So, yeah. So, the game is, I say a tagline, and I can give information, and you try to guess what the movie is.
Okay.
The tagline today is, fear can hold you prisoner, hope can set you free.
Fear can hold you prisoner, hope can set you free.
How well known of a movie are we talking?
Extremely well known.
The Shawshank Redemption.
Yes. A 1994 period drama with Tim Robbins, Morgan Freeman, and Bob Gunton. A banker convinced of ostracide. Wow, I didn't read this before. Forms a friendship over a quarter of a century with a hardened convict while maintaining his innocence and trying to remain hopeful through simple compassion.
You just have to believe.
Just have to believe. That's what gets you out of prison.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I'm telling you, I was like a period drama, maybe she'll know it, but I really, the rest of the things on this list are not movies you would have known.
All right.
I needed a win after the embarrassment of last episode.
Yeah, that was
where I didn't get double indemnity, and I was very upset about it.
Yeah. That's all for now. Thank you to our guest, my mother,
Thank
Jayanti
you so
Addleman.
much for joining us.
Thank you. That was very fun. Yeah, it was really fun talking to you guys about this.
I'm sure we'll have you back for our next Jane Austen adventure.
Yeah, probably.
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to In Contrast. I'm Nisha.
And I'm Alan.
Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. It really helps us out. You can find us at In Contrast on Instagram and Blue Sky.
Sorry. Sorry.
I'm leaving all this.
I
in,
think
by
you
the
should
way.
leave it.
Excuse me, we're trying to do the outro.
Let me step out. Finish. Sorry. Oh, gosh.
There's like 2 sentences left.
I know. I don't know why it coughed. It came over me. Sorry. Do that last bit again.
Thank you for listening to In Contrast. I'm Nisha.
And I'm Alan.
Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. It really helps us out. You can find us at In Contrast on Instagram and Blue Sky. Next up, we'll rate, review, and talk about Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. When is the movie from?
The movie just came out a few weeks ago.
Oh, cool. Perfect.